right? So, trade talk.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and welcome into our trade deadline special here at Do Hockey Hotline, presented live by Elliott Apollo's Restaurant. We are not here; we are actually in my basement this afternoon. Brian, I know you're working, trying to do a couple other things here, so you'll be in and out you'll be in and out as it goes. As you can see on the right side of your screen, you'll see the top 40 players available. Some of them have already moved, including first reported by Chad Dedamensis is Dylan Cousins. We'll have that for you here in a second, but we want to welcome everybody in that's going to be joining us. We'll be here until about 3:30, 4 o'clock today. Just kind of talking hockey, talking Sabres. So first and foremost, Brian, I ask you every Saturday morning, but on this beautiful Friday here in Buffalo and you're in California, how are we doing today?
Well, that's what I like to hear. I'm glad it's getting a little bit nicer there. It's beautiful out here in Southern California as usual. And again, woke up this morning, wasn't sure what to expect from the Buffalo Sabres point of view. And, listen, to anybody out there that's listening, we want to hear from you. Come in with your comments. Even if you're not a Sabre fan, just come in and talk some trade deadline with us. We're going to be talking other trades as well. But, of course, we are focused on our Buffalo Sabres. But we can talk about the league as well. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a wild few hours, we think, here. But right at the top, Matt, the Buffalo Sabres hit us with the trade that we kind of thought was going to happen, that we did anticipate that Dylan Cousins would be on the move. And we looked at a lot of different centers, but I didn't have this one on my bingo card. And that's for sure. So,
and what is the trade? What do we have going?
Okay, so the official trade that we have, as per our guy Chad, who we've had on our podcast, is Dylan Cousins to the Ottawa Senators for Josh Norris, who is a center. And we also did receive a defenseman in this deal. He is a former first-round pick. and he is his name is escaping me right at the moment. I apologize here. As you know, this is what happens during the trade deadline. You have like 15 windows open going right now, and he is an Alberta kid. I can tell you that, if that means
He's
anything to
24.
anybody.
He's 24 years old. He's the right shot defenseman that
Mhm.
Kevin Adams was looking for, whether it was him or somebody else.
Yep.
But they did bring in a right
Yes,
shot
it is.
defenseman.
Yep, it is Jacob Bernard Docker. We could call him JBD. We do like our acronyms here in Buffalo. We have UPL. Now we got JBD. So there you go.
RVD for the Bills.
Yeah, RVD. Yeah, we have all these different acronyms. He's a former first-round pick, like you said, a right-handed shot. Maybe this does open things up for Henry Yokiharu to move, and we'll see how that manifests itself.
Yeah, I mean,
Matt, I got to take a call. I'll be right back, okay? I'll be back in just a second.
Perfectly fine. Robbie, welcome in. We want to thank you for being a loyal fan and coming watching the deadline with us. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder. I have two of the different trade deadline things on. I have ESPN Plus on my projector, and the TV behind me. I have the hockey. One of them, whichever one it is, Sporting News. That's what it is. So we want to thank everybody for coming in, stopping by with us here. And as soon as Brian's back, he's actually, like we said, he's working. So we'll get some news from that. But I'm kind of torn on the Josh Norris deal. I like the defenseman, former first round pick, like Brian said, right shot defenseman. So he slots in probably as your second line, potentially to go with Owen Power and leave Bowen Byram and Dahlin together. We've seen it over the past couple of games, couple of weeks, that when Bowen Byram is playing with Dahlin, he seems to be the defenseman that the Sabres brought in. Anytime he's on with Power or on any different line other than with Rasmus Dahlin, he kind of just looks a little bit inept. And as far as that goes, they did need the right shot defenseman to kind of go with Owen Power, and hopefully bringing him in, he'll definitely help out Owen Power. Now, with that that being said, just want to whip around the NHL real quickly. As of 5 minutes ago, Andrei Kuzmenko went to the Kings. The Flyers got back a 2027 third-round pick. Earlier this morning, Anthony Bolivier went to the went to the Washington Capitals from the Penguins. And Brian's back.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to. You know how it is, multitasking at work and stuff. So don't mind me if I fade in and out all day long.
That's perfectly fine. The Oilers acquired Jake Wallman this morning for Carl Berglund and a conditional first-round pick from the Sharks. Oliver Killington went to the Ducks for future considerations. And last night, one of the bigger deals that happened was Brock Nelson. Technically, this morning, 12:02 a.m., Brock Nelson and William DeFauer went for Oliver Killington, who then immediately went to the Ducks. Callum Ritchie and a first-round pick and a conditional third-round pick.
Stop the presses. I am not a happy camper right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Why?
We have the full parameters of this trade, and I'm going to tell you a part of this trade that you are not going to like, and I don't like either.
Did they give up a first-round pick?
No. Norris, Bernard, and Docker to the Sabres. For Dylan Cousins, a second and 26, that's perfectly fine. Gilbert has been traded to Ottawa.
Okay. I mean,
I don't get it. That part I don't get. I'm sorry. I don't. Those are the kind of guys that we need. If you watched the game last night, okay, because we were going to rant about this, even Ray Ferraro, who doesn't spend any time on our team, you cannot let your captain sit out there and get picked on like that. That's exactly why you need guys like Gilbert. And what do?
Yeah.
They ship him out of town.
Yeah.
What? Like what?
Yeah.
Unless this leads up to something else, okay? Unless this goes to something else, why are we moving off Gilbert?
I mean, I'm okay with the movement of Gilbert. Like, I get your frustration with it. I truly do, because you need that tough player or anything like that. But, I mean, I would hope that Kevin Adams saw Ryan Reeves go on waivers, and hopefully that they're the ones that pick him up. But who knows what's going to happen there. But I think that, with Gilbert, he was not in their long-term plans. He only signed the 1-year deal. He was not in the long-term plans, and to get a right-shot defenseman and an equal player that seemed to need that change of scenery as well in Josh Norris, I could see why it would happen. But it does seem like the Sabres did give up a lot for Norris and Docker.
Well, I do think this speaks to one thing, Matt, is that if you're going to go after any top 2 centers in this league, you're going to pay, right? Center's a premium. Let's circle back to Josh Norris, 25 years old. He's making $7.95 million for the next 3 years after the season. So the numbers with Cousins, they kind of match up. We're actually taking on a little more of a salary. Norris has a no-trade clause that kicks in 2 years. Just some little facts on that. My one trepidation about Josh Norris is he's had 3 shoulder surgeries. He's a guy that hasn't stayed healthy. You hope that he's over this at part of his career. We're seeing this a little bit with Jack Hughes now on another front. Jack Hughes unfortunately has another shoulder surgery coming up. We've seen guys like Vladimir Tarasenko who have also been affected by lots of shoulder surgery. So that's a risk. I guess, my first thought on that is I was very slow to react to this deal, right? I'm not in love with it, but I'm not hating it either. I'm just,
Well, if we were doing this last year and we were talking about the Casey Middlestad deal, I almost had to talk you off a ledge on that one.
I didn't like it at all.
Little bit better reaction this year on this deal. So, but we all knew Dylan Cousins needed to move. He needed the change of scenery, and Kevin Adams got him that change of scenery, going to Ottawa, back to Canada for him. It just seemed like with Dylan Cousins, just like anything else in sports, once you have that mental issue, it's hard to come back from that. And but Ottawa certainly saw the skill set in Dylan Cousins and took a chance on him. Trading one of their better centers away, and one of their I don't want to call him a prospect or anything like that, because he's not Bernard Docker, but he is a 24-year-old right shot defenseman that's been playing semi-okay this year. And I was saying while you were gone, is I fully expect him to be Owen Power's partner, because Bowen Byram needs to be with Rasmus Dahlin.
Yep, absolutely. I guess the other thing too about Norris is he is a shoot first kind of center. He's not really a playmaker. Now he is capable of putting up 30+ goal seasons. I firmly believe that. If he's healthy, he could score in bunches. He's got a great shot. It's weird. The analytics guys, I've seen multiple opinions on him. Some trash him, some like him. In terms of his defense and stuff like that. So even the analytics guys are a little bit all over the place on this guy. A couple of years ago in 21-22, in 66 games, Norris scored 35 goals. Had a great year. 55 points. But you see, he's not a playmaker first. And Matt, I guess if I had to nitpick this deal a little bit, that's not a guy I'm putting with Tage Thompson. Okay, right. But I would say long term, if I had to forecast this team out, you put Zach Benson with a guy like Josh Norris, who is a playmaker, a play driver, right? Yeah, I see Benson as a 2040 kind of player, maybe a 2050 kind of guy, and maybe with a guy like a Josh Norris, that could be something that I could see coming into fruition in the next couple of years, maybe next year, even as early as next year. That would be a potential. I think this is a situation where we, both guys needed a change of scenery. Just like Steve said earlier, probably both needed it. It's interesting that it's in division. I don't think we expected Dylan Cousins to be traded in division. We heard some rumors of Detroit, right? We heard some rumors there. But as far as that goes, does this lead to another deal? I do fully expect Yoki Haro to be on the move today.
Yep,
I'd be shocked if he's not. The Paterka noise, I don't know.
There's been a lot of like insider fighting with that one, because you saw Rene Lavoie last night basically saying that it's almost a done deal, and then you have somebody who specifically was, is a Rangers guy. Saying that there's nothing to that deal. Now, whether we all know how things happen in the media, and the NFL likes to publicly negotiate deals in the media, whereas the NHL, they try and pull that stuff back in and rein it in as much as possible, so nobody knows what's really happening. So we don't know whether Chris Jury went to the guy and is like, hey, we got something brewing. Can you kind of put a thing out there saying, whatever, and you can be the first one to break the deal. I'll whatever the case may be are happening there. So, so I mean, it really depends. I mean, I really just, it's tough for me to sit here and say what's going on with Paterka, but if his name was to come off this our top 40 available board, and go to, say, the Rangers that the Sabres are going to see, next year for the next few years, I would not be a happy person right now. And just because he's one of your guys that is still seems to be on that upward trajectory.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. It's funny. I wanted to give you, as I was sitting here having coffee this morning. I'm on the West Coast. It's nice and early here. Let me show you my face as I read the trade. You know what I mean? I wasn't like, yes. I wasn't like, raw. It's just like, all right, okay. Robbie asked in our 716 Sports Blizzard guy says, is this a good deal for the Sabres? I said, honestly, I just don't know. I really don't know if this is going to be a good trade or not. I think it depends on, obviously, Norris's health. If Norris is healthy 80 games a year, he's going to score about 50 points, maybe 30-ish goals. He's going to be a nice player for the Sabres. I have no doubt about that, right?
Yeah.
And I've read some things. He's got a very dangerous shot. He's got some physicality. He plays a little bit of defense. He's got great speed, too, which I like. So, he could be an excellent two-way player if they could develop him correctly. But again, what do we talk? I just said a buzzword in Buffalo we don't hear very often. Develop correctly, right, Matt? So, But he's 25. He's at that point now where developing is over. Like, he is what he is.
Well, and that's the thing.
Get into 30 and 25. I'm sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
No, you're good. But all I wanted to say was, like we saw it with Dylan Cousins, is they did a very good job developing him, and then all of a sudden he gets into that fight, whether like earlier this year or last year, and then all of a sudden, like whether his bell got rung or something, or mentally just couldn't get over that that loss in that fight. Not saying a fight in hockey is a win or loss, but once he couldn't clear that mental hurdle, all the development for him went out the window, and he just like. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow on our normal show at 10 a.m.
Yep.
And for anybody watching, definitely follow us on YouTube. Do Champions. Follow us on YouTube. You can find the link right in the description. But I was at the game for the Sharks game.
Yeah, how was that, by the way?
It was probably one of the worst games I've been to. They are like I was mad couple weeks ago or a week ago during one of the intermissions. Paul Hamilton was talking about them being like a dumb team. Like he's never seen a bunch of dumber players put together. I will tell you, between last night and against the Sharks, he is 100% spot on with that. This team is one of the dumbest teams, combination of hockey players I've ever seen in my life. Last night especially, with the you have a chance to go on a 6-on-3 power play with 33 seconds left in the game, and you hold on to the puck. What the? are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I
how are
felt
you
it
that dumb on the power play? You clearly see now. I have a problem with the referees and everything because the arm clearly was going up as the Tampa Bay player still had control of the puck. So that's separate. But things happen on the ice. Those are bang bang things. The whistle didn't get blown. It went onto a Sabre stick. It should have been either on the net, into a Tampa Bay player. The puck left there for the official to blow the whistle. Whatever. The team itself not doing that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen from hockey players in this level.
Yeah. You know, I think part of that too, Matt, is when you have a franchise that is way out of the playoff race, right? And we all know hockey's a very emotional sport, right? I mean, a perfect example. Tage, like you said about that last sequence last night, Sabres won the draw too. You have 6-on-3. You won the draw. You should be firing at least 2-3 shots on Vasilevsky in that 30 seconds. They didn't get a clean shot until at the end of the game, but you see Eric Chernak lay that body out, make that amazing block at the end of that game last night.
Yep. Took that Tage Thompson. I think they measured it 97 miles an hour.
Yep.
Took that Tage Thompson shot right in the ass.
But look at Tampa. Did you I know I'm a little bit over the place here. Nikita Kucherov had some bad defensive plays last night. What does Cooper do? Benches him, second period, sits him down.
Yep.
That's what great coaches do. That's what great organizations do. How does Kucherov react? Boom. He's back in the game, beasting. And you see how Tampa is winning a lot of games in a row. They're a great organization. They're sacrificing their body gleefully to win games. Where Buffalo, I feel like right now is, and I don't question the heart of a lot of players. I mean, I believe a lot of these players do want to win. I do. Yeah. I really, really do, Matt. But when you're beat down so long as the Sabres have been, you just put yourself in maintenance mode. You start thinking about your next contract. You start thinking about Cabo and Cancun coming up in April, right? You're thinking, why am I going to sacrifice everything of mine to lay out when we're 14 points out of the playoffs?
Well, and we heard it the other day is that this team is sick of losing, and you can see it on the ice by them giving up on certain things. And to lose to the Sharks the other night 6-2, that was we left it 4-2. Like after that goal was scored, it was I'm sorry, 5-2.
Yep.
It was just like.
But do you see the enthusiasm of the Sharks bench? You see the enthusiasm
absolutely.
of the players?
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the way they play hard. I watched them last night. They got smoked by Colorado, okay? But they never stopped playing. Even they were down 5-1. They're still, you know what I mean? That there's something good going on in San Jose right now.
The one thing I will say though, Brian, is we saw that 2 and 3 years ago from this Sabres team.
That is
so
true.
Maybe there is something to it that they have. But I'm sorry, you're being paid $5, $6, $7, $8, $11 million in some cases on this team.
Yep.
There's no reason for you to be giving up. There's no reason for you to be giving up at that point, at any point on this team. Like us as fans, I get it. We're giving up because it's they're out of the playoffs. Like except for us hockey purists like yourself, myself, anybody else who covers this team or anything, we can't really give up on the team. But when it comes down to it, and we're sitting here like, it's hard as a fan to not give up on this team. And, you have another team that's literally 10 miles away that is doing things and getting prepped up to go on another run for a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Wouldn't you as the general manager, as the head coach, as players want to be in that same mindset? I get losing, but like, let's take that and put a little fire under our ass and be like, we can't be the only ones. Like, they can't be the only ones in town that are vying for a championship.
That's right. Well, Matt, you know what I really think this is? You're right. We did have that enthusiasm with this organization. The Reinhart Eichel stuff, especially the Eichel stuff, set this franchise back quite a while. And here is the pivotal mistake the Sabres have made. After those incidents, they should have completely cleaned house. Yep. Should have put more money into the scouting department. should have put more money into the finding that general manager, like, do an exhaustive search for a sharp young GM to get maybe a coach, and you could kind of rebrand that enthusiasm with a totally new organization that doesn't have all the baggage that we currently have now.
Well, and that's why we always make the joke. That's why we always make a joke. Let's take a year off in the NHL, give us a expansion team the following year.
But you know what I want to do? Fold and rebrand and incorporate in Texas, Florida, or Nevada, so we can get the tax breaks, and maybe we can make these kind of trades that some of these teams are making. But
I will bring this up because Steve is absolutely correct. This is a positive note. It really is. It does show that some players do want to still be here. They did sign Zucker 2 years, $4.25 million cap hit. So, I mean, which is less than what he was making this year. He was at a $5 million cap hit this year, so he did take a little bit less money to stay in Buffalo. So hopefully they can use some of that money to go out and acquire, your top line center or whatever. But I mean that, when I saw Dylan Cousins' name, and then last night when when the report came out from, I think it was Cam Robinson, that the Canucks are starting to listen to Pettersson stuff again. I was hoping that it was going to be, Cousins and something else going to Vancouver to bring that, but
I just don't think he had as much of a market as we thought. The one thing I do like about Josh Norris is the Sabres are an excellent 5-on-5 team, right? Mm-hmm. Josh Norris is really, really good on a power play. That's something that this team desperately needs. So
correct.
If that, that's something from that point of view, that if that could be a help, I think that's where the Sabres are. Like, if we could just start cashing in, we draw penalties. They were doing it last night. But when the Sabres get a power play, sometimes I watch only half the power play because I already know they're not going to do anything on this power play. I already know it. So, no, but back to Steve's comment, I agree. I think that's a good point. Did you like the Zucker AAV? You thought 4.7 for 2 years?
I did. I was perfectly I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I mean, he's somebody that wants to be here. You do have to pay him a little bit more to be in Buffalo. I get that. Because right now you're not having players come in that are like, oh, I want to be here in Buffalo. I'm going to take half the money I could have gotten on the open market to try and win a Stanley Cup. It's not. It's not like the team that's down the road where players are wanting to play with Josh Allen.
Okay. Oh, have some breaking news. Mikko Rantanen and the Dallas Stars are closing on an extension for 8 years. And here it is, the wonderment of a tax market. 12 tax-free, 12 million AAV is just about it, where he would probably get 14 million in a place like New York or 15 million in a place like Canada. And again, the Texas, I have a joke about the six franchises. I call them the low tax six. Right? They have the advantages, and Dallas has obviously proven that they do. And again, I'm not sure how the NHL either fixes this or what, but this isn't even just a theory anymore. It's almost like my religion when it comes to the hockey. These teams right now. I mean, I'm sitting there and they're talking about, oh, this guy could be traded here or there, and I say to myself, it's going to be Vegas, Florida. Yep, and it's Vegas, Florida, or Dallas. I mean, there are always the teams that seem to be in the mix now. I know they're good teams, and I know they draft well and all that, but they are able to take things a step further than, I mean, what is Winnipeg doing today, right? Winnipeg is a machine right now.
Yep.
They should be making a big move. I'm a little surprised they haven't, but again, I just want to say to everybody who's out there, we have a lot of listeners, and we're grateful for you. You want to talk about other teams too? Bring them to the chat. I mean, we're okay with talking some others. This is the NHL trade deadline. Of course, we are focused on our Sabres, and again, like and subscribe to us on Do Champions if you can. We would love that. Thank you very much. So
yes, no, absolutely. And here's the other thing too. One of the things that I, getting off the Sabres for a second, one of the things that I'm very super surprised about is the rumors behind Brad Marchand. I'm very surprised on the Brad Marchand rumors out there, and the latest I heard was with him from last night during the game. The latest everybody's heard is Vegas might be one of the ones that are looking at adding a player like a Marchand to get over that hump. That I don't know.
Oh, it's funny. I'm curious how guys like Quinn react. You know what's funny about Quinn, Steve? Quinn's from Ottawa, right? So the irony of that is, and you know, we talk about Vegas, right? And you talk about Dallas, but what has Dallas done way better than the Sabres? Draft. I mean, guys like Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson. Like, we're not hitting on guys like that. If the Sabres could just get that core and add another big piece, like, we have our draft. We're going to be talking more about the draft as we go forward. So if you're a Sabre fan, you want to hear about the draft, we're going to get deep into it as we go forward into it. But if the Sabres could get another core guy, Matt, I firmly believe Terry Pegula would be the kind of owner that would say, hey, go out there and get those guys. Go out there, spend to the cap. I have no doubt that he would do it. But he's not going to do it.
I think he is there now. Like, I think he is. Like, if Kevin Adams came to him and said, like, this is the deal we have on the table for a player like a Pettersson, but we need to go right to the cap with it, I think he'd be perfectly fine with it, because he's trying to improve the team. But again, as much as we bag on Kevin Adams, on this show, I will say, with the no movement stuff and things like that, the palm trees aside, the no movement clause is huge, because you can't get these guys to waive, going from a contender to the Buffalo Sabres at this point right now. Now, if the Sabres were like a top 8 team in the Eastern Conference, sure, I could see, a 9, 10, or 11 ranked team in the Eastern Conference trading a player to the Buffalo Sabres and them being willing to waive their no movement just to get in the playoffs, even if it is a rental. But I said it last week. I want to be one of those teams that's going out and getting a rental player at this time, not just worrying about what hockey trade Kevin Adams is going to make, and whether it's whether one of our best scorers on the team is going to be moved at the deadline today.
Matt, this team, it like last night, you watched the game last night. I watched most of the game. There are times you watch this team and you say, how could we be this bad? I'm not saying that the Sabres are an elite team, right? I'm not suggesting that we're in the Tampa class or anything like that. But I look at some of these teams fighting for playoff spots, and I say to myself, there's no reason why the Sabres can't be there. But I think I'm still coming back. I'm really come around to what you said. And you're one of the first guys that really hammered this home. Our goaltending situation, right? And I still think there are goalies out there. I think Buffalo should still be looking to add somebody. I'm still in the camp of going after a guy like Thatcher Demko. He's got one more year left at $5 million after this year. You let Devin Levi develop. Why not go out and get a guy like Thatcher Demko?
Yeah,
why not
I'm
have two guys?
Yeah,
play
absolutely,
together?
Absolutely, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And that's one of the other things is tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but for the Sharks game. We were sitting in 110, which is right behind where UPL let in that goal at the end of the period in the second period. As he's sliding across, he's already going down like this, and I think it was Celebrini just sat there and waited and put it over top of him. Like, why are you not? There's no reason you should be sliding forward and down when you should have just been pushing off, doing one of the T pushes and push off and stay straight up and as big as you can. If he stays straight up and as big as he can, that's not a goal.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And let's get to Steve's comment here real quickly. What number will Norris wear? I think Benson should give him 9 and switch to number 63. Benson reminds me of a very young Brad Marchand.
Ooh. I'll tell you what, I would love, Steve, from your lips, from your hockey god, from the hockey god's lips, your ears, whatever the comment is. I hope you're right. I mean, I would love. Say what you want about Brad Marchand. You want him on your team. You hate him if he's not. But man, would you love him? Well, I'd love to have him on the Sabres.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still of the mind. I'm not a big fan of Marchand. I know he's that pest, but I still think he's an asshole.
He is.
I'm sorry.
But he'd be our asshole if he's on the Sabres. It's kind of like, remember Freddie, favorite fan, old enough to remember? Vaclav Ferrata was kind of that guy too.
Yeah.
Right.
Barnaby, Vaclav Ferrata.
Those guys. Yeah, they had a certain charm about them. So, That's an interesting point. Maybe that would be cool. I would like to see Benson switch that to that number. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So that we'll see how that goes. But again, we'll see if there's any more trades in the works. The Sabres have made a bigger trade than we anticipated. Again, for a player we didn't expect. Again, I'm a little bit different as far as a first center goes. I was hoping for more of a playmaking center in this trade. Like, we talked about some other guys on this podcast. But again, when you're an organization that we've put ourselves in this situation over the last 14 years, this is a result of all those steps that led to this point, right? And this is what's going to happen. You're not going to get, like we say, wow, how does Colorado make that trade? By the way, I think Colorado massively overpaid for Brock Nelson. I'm just putting that out there. That return for the Islanders was immense. I was very impressed with that.
But again, they're a team that's vying for the Stanley Cup. They're not just a playoff contender.
Yep.
They're not just a team that's going to go in 1-2 rounds and be out. They're vying again for a Stanley Cup. They got McKinnon, Middlestat, Cale Makar, and they needed a player like a Brock Nelson to that's gonna play very well on their team and help to keep the goals down on defense.
Yep, absolutely.
It is definitely a little slow right now in the trade market. I mean,
we did have.
We do breaking.
Oh, what do we got?
Luke Schenn has been traded to the Winnipeg Jets from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I like that deal for Winnipeg. That's exactly what they need. Little toughness, little guy that can hit, guy in the playoffs. That's the kind of team Winnipeg is. I mean, and you have, Luke has been around the block for a while. Very solid move. It's probably a second-round pick or something. But again, Winnipeg has to be all in here. They're built for the now. I would like to see them add another piece, maybe another scoring. They kind of need a center too, but to maybe go behind them.
Mm-hmm. And here's another thing too. I just saw it on Twitter as I'm scrolling through to see what we got out there. But Seth Appert is reuniting with Josh Norris, so that's definitely something to think about. All right. As they've kind of gone through this, and Kevin Adams kind of stuck to his word, and it was looking for a hockey deal more than anything else.
If anything else, this is the situation again they put themselves in. I like this comment here by Steve very much. I love his tenacity. I mean, Benson. I love that he's a total package hockey player. Could not agree more. I'm very happy with him. But that last comment is exactly what fears me about this organization. Benson should be rocking it with Rochester right now, with Devin Levi dominating that league, maybe winning a Calder Cup, right? Kind of experiencing the winning habits, right? That's why all these players that were available, all these wingers that were out there, on the waiver wire, that they could have picked up, sent Benson down, said, listen, Zach, we love your game. We just want you to develop further in Rochester. You're definitely part of our long-term plans. We have big plans for you. Right? Like right now, he should be down there right now. He shouldn't even be here right now.
Zach Benson is actually not able to play in there until the 25-26 season.
Oh,
because you have to be 20 years old to be able to play in the AHL.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, that changes. Okay, so but
unless there's an exception made, like it was for Kulik. But he's a player that I would not be surprised to see sent down at least as a paper transaction to allow him to go down there after the Sabres season is over, because he has to go down. He has to go down to be eligible for the playoffs before the deadline is something I saw. Whether that's correct or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I did see that put out from somebody that typically is in the know on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Luke Schenn for a second and a fourth round pick, one in 26 and another one in 27.
It's a good thing for Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a good thing for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're going to need to start rebuilding at some point. It's a start, so they did move Bunting, and They did flip Shen for some pieces they could use down the line. I mean, it's going to be a while, but that definitely had to happen.
Yeah. It is official now. Mikko Rantanen has been traded to the Dallas Stars. As part of the deal, Rantanen will sign an 8-year, $12 million AAV extension with them. That was first reported by Elliot Friedman.
I am not a huge fan. I'm not so sure. Now, did they give up Stankoven?
It doesn't say what
deal?
the trade. It doesn't say what the trade is yet.
Yeah. That's the part that I like Rantanen. I'm not saying he's not a really good player. I just wonder how much of him is, when you play with Nathan McKinnon, how much does that raise your level? Like, is he really worth $12 million a year? I mean, now Dallas has other good players there, obviously. I mean, I love Wyatt Johnston and all that, but I just wonder if it's a good fit. We'll see. I mean, Dallas has been a very smart organization, so.
Yeah, who's it down there now? Still, is it still Jim Nill?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he is a really, really good general manager. It's unfortunate because I do think Kevin Adams could be a good general manager, but I unfortunately don't think it's going to be with the Buffalo Sabres because that's the problem with being a first time general manager anywhere. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of like how it happens. You don't typically see first time general managers getting it right, but there is one guy that is a first time general manager that is getting it right out there, and that's Mike Grier.
That's right, and he was ripped to shreds when he first got there. He was making trades that didn't look very good, but again, I want to reserve my judgment on Mike Grier. Because, like you said, we had that enthusiasm here when we got Jack Eichel, and then we made some other trades, and the Sabres were looking like that team that was going to be. Yeah. I mean, you saw the articles, I remember, in 2017, 2018, teams likely to win a Stanley Cup in 5 years. Buffalo was towards the top of that list.
Because of the prospect pool and Jack Eichel, Reinhart.
Yeah. And I do love what they're doing, but like you said, let's see. Get back to me in 2 or 3 years. But I do agree. And San Jose's a great hockey market too. They love the Sharks out there. It's a great place to play if you have money. I've always said California's wonderful if you have money. Said that a million times. So, but we'll see what happens here. I do again. We have about
2 hours, and then you'll see. Typically, you see some trades trickle in up until about like 3:30. I still remember what deal was that. That was what was it? I think it was it was Cody Hodgson deal. The Cody Hodgson deal. That did not get announced until like 40 minutes after the deadline. Yeah. And it was like you're sitting there like, oh, Darcy again didn't do anything, and and then all of a sudden, like 40 minutes later, Cody Hodgson is a Buffalo Sabre, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay with that. But yeah, I mean, just looking around the NHL, I mean, it's definitely been a slow trade deadline this year. Even there hasn't been like a lot of moves, even leading up to here. I mean, we've had what? Let me count. 1, 2, 3. As of March 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Looks like
13, 14, 15.
to Toronto.
Ooh, that's a good trade for Toronto.
Lawton to Toronto. That's what I'm seeing. I don't have anything confirmed yet, but
yeah, that's definitely a good trade for Toronto. They needed that hardworking type player. I mean that's pretty much confirmed. Pagnota is saying that Leafs are getting Lawton, so I would say that that's as confirmed as anything out there could be. So. Definitely, real quickly, I just want to let everybody know that is watching us. Definitely, if you are anything more than a Sabres fan and a Bills fan as well, or a fan of the NFL, definitely check out any of our other shows. We have an NFL show on Thursday nights with Chase and Data. We have the Buffalo Blueprint on Sundays, Third Manageable Saturday nights. And then we have our gambling show on Mondays, and No One to Blame. And then Wednesday nights, you see Brian himself with his co-host Whittle 2K on Wednesday nights with Coast to Coast. And real quickly, just want to run through our sponsors real quick.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another deal to break. And I'll tell you, Winnipeg is going to be a nasty team to play in the playoffs, Matt. Brandon Tanev to Winnipeg for a second-round pick. Love that deal for Winnipeg. I love what Winnipeg's doing. I really, really do. I think they're going to be the team I'm going to root for to win it all this year. I would really like to see them break through, for the little guys, for us like Buffaloes and things like that. I want to see a team like the Winnipeg Jets win it all. So I really like that deal for them, or second-round pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely for a second-round pick for Brandon Tanev. That's definitely a really good deal. They're getting a very tough hockey player in Brandon Tanev. He is somebody that was rumored to be, the Sabres were rumored to be in on him, but clearly doesn't want to be anywhere but a contender. So that kind of works out for him. I did see on Twitter that the Brock Besser stuff is starting to heat up a little bit, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that as we go through the rest of the show here today.
Don't know if I see the Sabres, but overall, I would give the Sabres right now. You have to give them. I have to go here in a minute, Matt, and then I got to come back. Unfortunately, work calls me. But if you had to give the Sabres a letter grade so far this week, what in terms of the deadline, what would you give them so far at this moment? Just gauging you right now. Let's see. We'll revisit this in 2 hours.
I mean, I'm with the deal bringing in. They got rid of they did get rid of Dylan Cousins. He did make a hockey trade. I would definitely put that trade in the C plus B minus area is what he's done for the to improve the team. By getting the change of scenery, getting Dylan Cousins out, because we saw it last night in the game last night. Is he's just not standing up for players anymore. He needed that change of scenery. He needed that kick in the ass, and it's unfortunate that he couldn't last with Buffalo.
Yep, absolutely. A second-round pick in 2027. Winnipeg gave up for Brandon Tanev. Great deal. Yeah, love that. I mean, 2027. I mean, that guy's not. I mean,
now we're starting to get into NBA territory, trading like 3 years down the line picks for players. But that's.
Brady Tkachuk very choked up in his interview and asked about losing Josh Norris. They were close friends. That means anything? If that means that the kind of character guy that maybe the Sabres are getting in this room, then I'm okay with that too. And listen, I wish Dylan Cousins well. I still think Dylan Cousins could be a heck of a player. He needs a change of scenery, and I hope it works out for both of our teams. My biggest concern with Josh Norris is his injury risk. He only played 8 games. I mean, a couple of years ago, he had a big shoulder surgery, if I remember correctly. So we'll see how that all works out. But Matt, I hate to go, but I got to bid farewell just for now. But I will be back probably at 2:00 your time, and we will reconvene. Anybody out there listening and in the group chat, join Matt, give him some comments. Let's get some chatter out there. If you guys want to be heard, say anything about the trade deadline coming up, any feedback, any ideas you want to see the Sabres do or other teams. So please feel free to bring it to us. Matt, I will be back in about an hour.
All right, well, we'll see you in about an hour, Brian. All right, and I do want to again thank everybody for joining us here today. You got to look at my my ugly mug for the next hour until Brian gets back, but definitely want to thank everybody for hopping in. We do have, as I said at the beginning of the show, you do have your top 40 available. Some of those players, including Mikko Rantanen, Brock Nelson, a couple other players are off that board already. But I do want to get into Josh Norris a little bit. He is very good on the power play. So that is something that the Sabres desperately needed, is somebody that's gonna help to take their power play and get it out of the basically the cellar. They are not a good power play team. Excuse me one second. Excuse me. And his other thing though too, like Brian said, he's had two shoulder surgeries. The last 2 years he's played 50 games and then 53 games. He is a -6 and a -5, respectively. And he has not had over 55 points. Or I'm sorry, he has not had over 35 points except for the 21-22 season, where he did score 35 goals and had 20 assists, but he was still a -7. So it just seems like he's on the ice for some of the time that goals are going in, and whether that's on him or whether that's as he's hopping off or hopping on, whether that's on penalty kill, but it just seems like he is one of those type of players that also needed a change of scenery as well. He this year he has 33 points with about 21 games remaining, so we'll definitely see if he can't help the Sabres look a little bit better. He has six power play goals this year, and he does have his highest shooting percentage right now of his career at 21.3%, which is actually a pretty good shooting percentage. He does, like Brian said earlier, he does have a heck of a shot, and that's one of the things that the Sabres desperately need, is to continue with guys that are looking to shoot the puck. We saw it last night. I saw it, firsthand with during the Sharks game. Being there I don't like to be one of those guys that's sit there and every time a player touches the puck is shoot the puck, because it's not about that. But there's always times to pass, and then there's definitely you want to be looking to shoot more, and that's something that Josh Norris is going to bring to this team. Is he's a shoot first type player. So hopefully he brings that to the team. And then as far as Jacob Bernard Docker, like I said earlier, he is a right shot defenseman. I'm just pulling up some of his statistics right now. He has been with Ottawa since the 2021 season. This year he is a +2. He's played in 25 games. He has 4 points. And he does have a lower shooting percentage at 5.6, but that's typical from a defenseman. And just let me take a look here and see what else we got here as far as Bernard Docker goes. He was a former first-round pick back in 2018. He is a 6', 198-pound defenseman. He is in his 4th season in the NHL. He is 24. He will be turning 25 on June 30th. And he's from Canmore, Alberta, in Canada. He is now with the Buffalo Sabres after the trade here today. Just take a quick scroll through Twitter just to see if there's anything else in the meantime before I get to a little bit more about Bernard Docker. So bear with me here 1 second while I do look into this here a little bit. And like Brian was saying, I guess Brady Tkachuk and him were very good friends. He was a little bit choked up. Let's see here. Now, as far as anything else goes today, with the NHL, just to play catch up here real quickly, Scott Lawton went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The trade compensation is still to be determined. Brandon Tanev went to the Winnipeg Jets for a 2027 second round pick to the Seattle Kraken. They also then made a trade prior to that. Luke Schenn going to them, the defenseman Luke Schenn from Pittsburgh for a 2026 second round and a 2027 fourth round pick. And then Flyers also traded Kuzmenko to the Kings along with a seventh round pick. And Anthony I can't say his name. Beauvillier went to the Capitals from the Penguins. And that kind of rounds out. You had three earlier in the morning. Jake Wallman to the Oilers for Carl Berglund and a conditional first to the Sharks. Oliver Killington went to the Ducks, and then Brock Nelson and Willem Dafoe went to the Colorado Avalanche. Oliver Killington went to the Islanders in that deal. Callum Ritchie went to the Islanders in that deal, and then the Islanders turned Killington right around and sent him to the Anaheim Ducks. Now, with that being said, I'm just still looking up some of the information here on Bernard Docker. Just want to get a little bit more information about the player. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the possession metrics here of Bernard Docker. All right, so time on ice in all situations this year in minutes is 327.7. He has a Corsi number 4 of 295. Corsi against 285. Just so everybody knows, Corsi is shots plus blocks plus misses. So he is a little bit ahead on that. His zone start percentage is actually 52.5, which is actually a pretty good number for him. Let's see here. And then on the power play, he's only played 2 minutes on the power play. Let's see here. He's only played a little bit on the penalty kill, but in 23-24, he did have 105 minutes total time on ice, and he was has a Corsi percentage of 13.5%. So not good, not bad, but he is somebody that hopefully comes in and is a good player for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, with that being said, let's take a look here and see if there's any other updates here. Nothing currently yet, but Scott Lawton, let's talk about that for a second here. Going to the Maple Leafs. And real quickly, I do want to touch on this. Steve, thank you for the comment. I honestly think it's going to end up being Kulik, Norris, McLeod, and then either Peyton Krebs or if they move off of Peyton Krebs, potentially Tyler Kozak going on that fourth line, which it just basically feels like that's same thing that they've been doing for the last couple of years. It just Josh Norris goes in for Dylan Cousins, and Josh Norris being that shoot first guy. Yes, he has more goals and assists, so I don't really expect him to be that. He's not that playmaking center type player that this team desperately needs. Because they got that type of player in Tage Thompson. He's always looking to find the way around, and if they don't leave Tage on the wing, and it doesn't seem like they're going to, it seems like he's going to continue to be, the center there. I was very excited when when Lindy moved him to the wing, but I don't know. I really think that Tage Thompson should be somebody that is a winger, not a center. Even though he is probably the best quote unquote center on the Buffalo Sabres at this point right now. I would like them to see, potentially bring in a Pedersen type player, that 1C type player, so you can move him over to the wing. It looks like the return on Scott Lawton was Grebenkin, and a first is the return to Philly for Scott Lawton. And, he's also one of those hard to play against type players that, would look good in a Sabres jersey eventually. Maybe not that player, but that type of player. And, Lindy Ruff wanted to, be tougher to play against. And I've always been of the mind personally that, if you can't beat them, beat them. So I think that's one of the things that this team needs is a way to get tougher on the defensive side of the puck and on the offensive side of the puck, whether with the forecheck and things like that. And hopefully one of those players to do that would end up being a Ryan Reeves, at least for the rest of this year, to potentially claim him on waivers. But I don't know. I really don't know what this team is going to do. I really think that Kevin Adams needs to not be here anymore. And I just I don't think he should be the one that's in charge of $33 million next year. I did like the Zucker deal. I was okay with the Greenway deal because they're not bad players. Jason Zucker is somebody who wanted to be here, and I really think that I really do think that he is somebody that can teach some of these younger guys how to win. And let's see here. Just so everybody is aware, Chad just posted on Twitter that he'll reiterate what he said last night and got more confirmation today. JJ Peterka is not in play anywhere. Teams have asked and been shut down for the most part. So what that typically means is they've probably made an offer and it was not up to what Kevin Adams thought it should be. Because somebody like JJ Peterka, you would need to have a lot coming back to the Sabres. He's a high-end scorer that's going to continue to develop here in Buffalo, and he's potentially a 30 to 40 goal scorer. Probably is even as soon as next year if they were to acquire that top center and you put him and Thompson on that top line with a top line center. So let's take a look here. And I do apologize. I'm just scrolling Twitter trying to see if there's anything else coming up here. As we're going through this here today, I definitely welcome any comments, questions, anything else while I'm sitting here waiting for Brian to come back. He did have a meeting that he had to get to for his actual job. So we'll definitely see what else, if anything else, comes up here for the Buffalo Sabres. But again, getting back on Kevin Adams a little bit is, he, as much flack as he does take for being a bad GM, he's made good moves for this team, but they just don't seem to be the right moves to get these guys going. And unfortunately, they need to find a way to acquire guys that are going to come in and not only want to be here, but also want to improve everybody else around them, and pick those guys up and carry them into a playoff spot. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen until minimum now next year, and we're at 14 years of a playoff drought, and which is the longest tenured playoff drought in all of sports. I think only behind the Jets. So I mean, we'll definitely see if there's anything else to come today to make this team any better than what they are now, and see what they can build on for the rest of the year. I fully expect Lindy Ruff to still be here next year. I fully expect Kevin Adams to still be here next year. So unfortunately, we have to make the best of a bad situation with those guys. And I love Lindy Ruff, love the move to bring him back in here. But as of a job he's done this year, I can't really blame Lindy Ruff, because as we're all sitting here, you can only do so much from the bench, and you can only do so much during practice. You can't be the one to go out there and show these guys, like, this is what has to be done, this is how it has to be done. And I not necessarily feel bad for Lindy Ruff or anything like that, but he took on the challenge to turn this team around and to get them to be a playoff contender and eventually a Stanley Cup contender. And he's just, not only has he not gotten the support from Kevin Adams and potentially players, but he also hasn't gotten the support in to bring in the coaches that he wants. So I think that's the first thing that's got to happen at the end of the year is a hard look has to be taken into account for the assistant coaches on the team. And I'm perfectly fine with them keeping somebody like a Seth Appert, but he's the one running the power play, and they cannot have another year where they have a horrible power play. They're one of the best teams at 5-on-5, and if they just had better special teams, whether and that's in general, even if they had just average special teams, power play and penalty kill, this potentially is. They probably don't go through that 13-game losing streak. They're have 5 losses now in a row. I don't think they're in a point now, and I truly think that this season kind of went by the wayside during that 13-game losing streak, because Kevin Adams didn't make any moves. And I'm not talking about a trade or anything like that, but he didn't bring anybody up during those 13 games from Rochester. He didn't try and improve the team by claiming any of the guys that were on waivers during that time. There was multiple players that could have been acquired different ways than just a trade, and he didn't take any advantage. And they have all the Jeff Skinner money still sitting there, and they just are not doing anything with it. And it almost comes into effect that you would have liked to have Terry Pagula step in and say something, but I truly think I don't want to say he's a bad owner or anything like that, because he's not. He allows these guys to whether it's Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott or Kevin Adams and to run things how they see fit. But I would have liked to see Kevin Adams have to be told sat down potentially and said to hey, let's kind of make a move here. Hey, let's kind of do something. Let's go out and find somebody to to improve this team. Let's take a swing. And that's one of my things with his job, quote unquote, not being on the line, is he's more than willing to basically just sit on his hands and do nothing at this point. So if he's not worried about losing his job, then why is he going to take a chance in December when they're going through that 13-game losing streak? Why is he, why would he be willing to get rid of some of these players that he potentially, feels like could turn around their season back in December, but now it's affecting the rest of the season, because if you take those, I've said it plenty of times, even if you get the loser point in 9 of those games, and you take the loser point in 9 of those games, you're now in a spot where you're fighting for a playoff spot, and you're potentially looking at, bringing in, a Brock Besser or, any, an Elias Pettersson, a Rickard Raquel, to try and, add scoring to this team, add defense to this team, to shore yourself up to go on the rest of the year. But at this point right now, it's basically like, yeah, you made a trade you got rid of Dylan Cousins, you got rid of a little bit of what feels like dead weight, but he's still at, as of 1:13 p.m. on 3/7 on trade deadline day, he's still not making the playoffs. We're still not making the playoffs. We're still in this 14-year playoff drought, and it just feels like the Sabres are spinning their wheels because they're continuing to do the same thing. And I said it last week on our show with Hockey Hotline, with Brian and myself, is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what they did with Casey Middlestat last year. They brought in, they traded Middlestat for Bowen Byram. He made a hockey trade. Now, I understand completely there's, I'm not asking him to go out and get, Connor McDavid or anything like that. Would I welcome it? Absolutely. Would I be okay with him trading the next 4 or 5 year first round picks? Absolutely, because this team needs to improve. They need to make the playoffs. But he needs to do something. He needs to swing for the fences somehow. And about a month ago, before the Four Nations break, before JT Miller was traded, he should have done whatever he possibly could to bring in Pettersson. Because at this point now, the season's over. There's 21 games left. There's no way that this team even sniffs a playoff spot, let alone, and I said it last night on Twitter that Kevin Adams has there's no reason he should be running a McDonald's, let alone an NHL franchise. So, it's upsetting, and I sit here as a content creator, as a fan, as whatever you want to call it, and I'm at a loss for words. I've been a Sabres fan since I can remember. Cutting out newspaper clippings from Jim Kelly and Vic Carucci and all these guys and putting them in scrapbooks and seeing the Snuggerwalds and the LaFontaines and the Hashicks and living through that era and seeing Michael Pekka come in, getting traded for Alex Mogilny, coming home from school on trade deadline day and turning on Empire Sports Network and watching Fan TV to watch the latest, rumors and things like that for the Buffalo Sabres, watching Stu Barnes get traded here for Matthew Barnaby and watching a team that, in all estimation should not have been as good as they were, but because they played hockey the right way, they were a good hockey team. And that's I think what this team needs to get back to is playing hockey the right way. Because unfortunately they're not going to be getting any high-end stars unless they, number one, overpay for them, number two, draft them. So they need to, and then they have control of them until they're pretty much 26, 27 years old. Just like that they've been signing the Matthias Samuelsson, just like that they've been signing, Rasmus Dahlin, signing Owen Power, trying to get JJ Peterka's deal done because we don't need an offer sheet coming in for him during the summer where the Sabres can't match it because they put some kind of poison pill in that first year where they They just, not that they don't have the money or anything like that, but they see a way to bring in other assets by for other first round picks and letting him go. They don't need to do that, and it almost feels like we're semi Pittsburgh Pirates ish. If anybody watches baseball out there, feels like we're the Pittsburgh Pirates for the rest of the NHL. Developing these guys for our team, and then these other good GMs, good hockey teams try and acquire these guys in the best way possible, and the Sabres bring back future considerations, future picks, and I'm of the mind right now that we cannot accept any trades that are for, other players aside, like a Yoki Haru or anything like that. I get, if they were to trade him for like a 4th or 5th round pick, sure, I get that. But there's other things out there that need to happen. You need to package your top picks. Obviously, protect them if you feel like this year, if you were to trade your 1st round pick, most likely is going to be a top 3, top 5 pick. I would trade that I would trade that right away unless it's a top 3 pick. You can protect it up to the top 3 picks, and I just think that's something that I think needs to be done. I think you need to start packaging some of these picks, because at this point right now, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere as a hockey team. You need to get proven guys that are, anywhere from the age of 20 to 35 years old that can still play hockey, that can teach, if they're a veteran, to teach some of these younger guys how to play hockey the right way. I when I was at the Sharks game the other night, there was multiple times where you could have seen somebody like a Dylan Cousins, or like Ryan McLeod, or Owen Power, or even Rasmus Dahlin at times could have stood some of these guys, coming through the zone, through the center of the ice with their head down. 10 years ago, you're putting a shoulder into one of those guys. Now, there's nobody on this team that's going to make a Brian Campbell type hit, to the RJ Umberger type hit. There's nobody on this team, and I'm not saying you're going to get those every once in a while. You're not going to get those all the time, but you need to be harder to play. They need to be harder to play against. They need to be harder to score against, and I think that starts in net. And I think that the UPL deal, even though it looked okay last year, I think it's a bad deal for the Buffalo Sabres now at this point right now, because he, for whatever reasons, and maybe you bring in a good goalie coach. Maybe you bring in somebody that is able to help him through this, because on multiple occasions this year, he's making himself smaller where most other goaltenders, because you have players that are playing goaltenders that are 5'11", 6 foot tall, that are playing like they're 6'4", 6'5", and filling up the entire net, whereas now you don't have that. You have a 6'4" goaltender that is playing like he's 5'11", and you can't have that. He has to be. I don't know what the answer is there in net. I don't know whether it's a change of player. Maybe you move UPL and bring in a Thatcher Demko type goaltender, and you kind of wait on Levi and let him compete next year for the job. But obviously Devin Levi is doing very, very well right now in Rochester, and he's going to be vying for the Calder Cup most likely this year. The Amherst are the number 1 team in the AHL. They have a very good team. I think that that is the one thing that Kevin Adams has done well here, is to bring in those players that are able to be a farm system type hockey team. But at some point, that some of these guys are going to have to start coming up and contributing in the NHL. Because if they're not contributing in the NHL, what's the point of paying them? What's the point of having them here when you could turn them around and get them onto a team that potentially could not necessarily use them or, them turning into superstars on those teams, but potentially breaking a lineup in a different place where you could bring in a player that is going to help you now, because that's what the Sabres need. Is they need the help now. It's not help 3 years from now. It's not help 5 years from now when some of these players like an Isaac Rosen are guys that are or a Huselius that can come in and potentially change this team around. That's not those guys. Those guys are going to be your second, third line scorers and probably nothing more. And not only that, this team has done a good job of getting bigger between Jordan Greenway, between Ryan McLeod, because that's one of the issues that this team has had there's been more guys under 6 foot on this team than above 6 foot, and not necessarily that that's a bad thing, because hockey players come in all shapes and sizes, but when it comes down to it, I think that you need guys that are going to be able to have a body that's going to protect guys that are smaller than them. Around they're the ones that are going to be flying up and down the ice, because the Connor McDavids don't come along very often. Like, when's the last time you had a Connor McDavid? You only see one of those type of players every so often. You had Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Those were your top 2 players for the longest time. Then you have Connor McDavid, and I mean, we even see it with Austin Matthews. As good as he is, for whatever reason, in those clutch times, he does not step up. Whereas we saw it in the Four Nations, he had 3 point-blank chances to end that game and win it for the U.S. He's done it with Toronto. He's had issues, scoring the big goals in the big game. He's never won a game 7 or when they've been up for elimination. He's never won any of those games, and he's in the same boat as until he does it. He's in the same boat that Jack Eichel was until he went to Vegas and won the cup with them. Because and it's unfortunate when we have players on this team that are I don't want to say down on themselves, but that's basically what it comes down to. Is that you have players on this team that are down on themselves, that are not able to get through that. I don't want to say depression, but it's a lot to lose. It's a lot to continue to lose. That's why you got to get rid of some of these guys that are part of the losing culture. That's why you saw Zemgus Girgensons go to somewhere like Tampa last year rather than re-signing with Buffalo, or anytime that those type of players go anywhere. They're sick of losing in places that are consistently losing. The Sabres have not been good since 2011, and they have not had good goaltending since 2013 when Ryan Miller left, and it's unfortunate that we are relying on an unproven goaltender in UPL that does show flashes, but you need to bring, and that's why I was all for a couple of years or earlier in the summer, or earlier at the end of summer when Hellebuck was on the market. Now, when Hellebuck was on the market, I would have given 2 or 3 first-round picks to go get him, because he is a proven number 1 goaltender, and he is the best goaltender in the NHL right now, and he has been for the last couple of years. And if you could have gotten that done, you would have had such a different outlook on this season, because you need a goaltender back there that's going to, stand on his head and steal a game or two, because you cannot have, players that are going one-on-one, and you're, as the goaltender, you're losing more than you're winning. As far as on breakaways or 2-on-1s or 2-on-0s or anything like that, and it's unfortunate, because UPL is a big goaltender. He's a quick goaltender. He's a fast goaltender. But they need to do something at that spot to, because at this point right now, I'm not saying go and find the second coming of Hasek. You need to find somebody that's going to, when coverage does break down, when things do break down, that goaltender is going to more times than not stand on his head and help your team rather than hurt it. And that's kind of where I am right now with UPL, because I don't know what to do. If I was the Sabres, I don't know what I would do. I would start, like I said before, I would start by changing the goaltender coach. Let Lindy Ruff get his guys in here that he wants in here, that's going to allow him to play his game as much as possible. And that's not only coaches, that's players, that's, and it can't be a Kevin Adams alone built team. He has to include Lindy Ruff on some of these, yes, he gets the final decision, he gets the final say, but I think that Lindy Ruff also needs to be in that war room, for lack of better terms, to improve this team and to, because Brian and I talked about earlier, as much as the Sabres were, we want to say shouldn't have been good, but they were good because they were the hardest working team in hockey. But look at some of those players on those teams, and yes, he had Dominic Hasek in the back, but when you bring in the Miro Shatans and the Michael Pekkas and the Vaclav Varadas, and that same team you can drop in probably any era, and they're probably going to be a very, very good team because they play together, because they're not all about playing for themselves, and they're not trying to make the one extra pass instead of being a little bit selfish at times and shooting the puck, because that's also when the puck is on a Tage Thompson stick. I'd rather see him shoot it, and that's going to help the team more by him taking those shots, because you have somebody standing in front of the net, in front of the goaltender, screening the goaltender, and if it hits the player in front of the net, the puck's only going to go a couple of different places. It's going to either go down in front of you, it's going to go left to the right, or it's going to go in the back of the net, or it's going to hit the goaltender. So there's only a few spots that it can actually go. But this team needs to do something to improve and get it into these guys' head that let's shoot the puck, because at this point, Wayne Gretzky said it best: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's 100% true, and I wish this team would shoot more. I wish this team would stop looking for the fancy pass, the fancy play. Tage Thompson made a hell of a move last night around the defenseman, when he put it between his legs, but what did he do immediately after that? He lost the puck, lost the angle, and had to shoot it into the goaltender just to get a shot on net, when he could have used his huge body, his huge frame to, keep the guy off of him, behind him, and put a better shot on net. And I understand maybe that's not his game, but at some point you have to start using your body. At some point you're 6'7" and 200 and something pounds. You have to start using that. You have to, over the summer, you need to get into the gym and start, maybe sacrifice a little of that speed for a little bit more weight, so you can be stronger on the puck, so you can hold the puck a little bit longer, so you can, and I'm not a big analytics guy, and that's why we have Chad on the show, once every couple of months, just to kind of go over some of the analytics and talk that way. But more in hockey than anything else is I'm that, what I'm watching on the ice and what I'm seeing on the ice, because in the end, yes, just the numbers tell some of the story. Yes, they do, but that's the thing, is they're only telling some of the story, parts of the story, because in hockey it's not like football where, you know, Josh Allen is putting it in such and such a spot where, you know, only his receiver is going to get it, and that receiver's got to go up and make a play, or, you know, the Von Millers, the Greg Rousseaus, the Ed Olivers are making a move around a guy to get to the quarterback, or you don't see those guys show up on the stat sheet, but they're doing the other things that are dirty, that are, you know, helping to keep, you know, offensive linemen off of Bernard and Milano so that they can be on the stat sheet, so they can make the plays, so that, you know, all of that type of stuff. That's what they need with the Buffalo Sabres, is they need guys that are going to not worry about showing up on the stat sheet, not worry about, oh, I got to go bar down on this, I got to shoot for the whatever, I got to pick my spot to shoot just shoot the puck, just put it on net, and let what happens happen. Because, you know, you're less likely to score from 30 feet out than you are from 3 feet out. So if you're putting the puck on the net and, you know, somebody's jamming at the puck at the goaltender, you're more likely to score from within 3 feet than you are from, you know, 30, 40 feet out. So I don't know what needs to happen with this team. I don't know what needs to go on as far as anything else. The Mikko Rantanen trade has become official. It is for Logan Stankoven and 2 first-round picks. So Mikko Rantanen to the Dallas Stars that we reported earlier. That is now officially official. And he signs that 8-year, $12 million AAV deal with them. So he's going to be there for a long time. But I really think the Sabres need to find their number one center. Maybe Kulich turns into that. I don't think so, but maybe he does. Maybe I end up eating crow next year and he's the number one center, and they're able to, you know, have the centers go down the middle of Kulich, Norris, McLeod, and Krebs, and that's their spine. That's their center spine, and I hope that I am wrong. I hope that this team doesn't need anything, you know, and hopefully he's already on, you know, the 1C is already on the team. You know, I really hope that, but at this point right now, nobody's proven to take that. It should have been Dylan Cousins. It should have been Tage Thompson, but Tage is, I don't think he's, even though he's the best center on the team, I don't think he's that great of a center. I think he should be a wing. I think he should be on the wing. I think he's the one that should be getting set up, not trying to set people up, because he's always truly looking to shoot. He's trying to get around players, and his yes, even though he's fast to get back on the puck in the defensive zone, I would rather see him on the wing and taking away some of these opportunities from some of the wings, on the defensive side of things, and using his speed to get back, to play at the points, and to play along the wings and along the boards and things like that. Whereas I just wish that this team would do something major today. And if not today, during the summer, because hockey doesn't end next year. Like, this isn't the last season of hockey ever. Knock on wood that nothing were to happen or anything like that. But I really just like I talk about all the time in the NFL, this isn't the last year of football. There's always next year, and I know that Sabres fans, Bills fans, sports fans in general are always sick of hearing that when their team is the losing team at the end of the year. But when the team that loses the last game of the year is, saying, "Oh, there's always next year," but it truly is. There is always next year, and I'm excited for this team moving forward. I wish that they would do other things. Get rid of Kevin Adams, bring in a qualified general manager, potentially leave Lindy on the bench, potentially move him up into more of a front office type role, a consultant type role, whatever. Keep him with this team, but I truly think that we need to the Buffalo Sabres need to make changes on the bench below Lindy Ruff. I think that they need to make changes on the bench with the players. I don't know what you're going to do from here to potentially continue to move that forward and move that needle. So with that being said, we're still waiting on Brian to come back, but in the meantime, let's pay some bills.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and again, thank you to all the people that are still in here with me, and all of our sponsors that have been riding with us here at Do Champions. We are a Buffalo Sports Media Network. Definitely check us out on YouTube. Give us a follow over there. Subscribe so you can keep up to date on the latest, Bills news and anything else NFL related, NHL related. Because we're going to be having a huge draft show for the NFL draft. If you're football fans, definitely come join us for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. That'll most likely be live from Elliott Apollo's. Stop down and get some dinner, have some drinks, and enjoy the draft party from there. But with that being said, we have another hour and 20 minutes of trade deadline here today. It has been a little bit of a slow day all around. It seems like it's been getting that way and trending that way the past few years as teams are they're not waiting to the deadline to make these deals. They're seeming to make the deals earlier in the lead up to the deadline rather than waiting until the last minute to make the deals. So it makes this day a little less fun, but it's still fun to hear some of the takes and watch these guys behind me, like the guys from the Sporting News or the guys from ESPN, the Trade Center, TSN's Trade Center. So if you're not watching us here at Do Champions, I implore you to turn those guys on and get any up-to-date news from them. But would rather have you join myself and Brian here with us here throughout the entire rest of this deadline as we continue to speak on the Buffalo Sabres and anything else going on in the NHL as we go through this here today. Let's see here. So I'm continuing to monitor Twitter as we go through here today. I still think it's crazy that Mikko Rantanen just had gotten traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. You would have thought that the Carolina Hurricanes are typically a very good organization. You would have thought that they would have potentially touched on whether he wanted to re-sign there or not before they had made that deal with them, because they did trade. They traded Taylor Hall and why is his name eluding me right now? Hold on one second. I actually have the trade tracker here, so bear with me one second. I'm sorry. It was Martin Nikas and Jack Drury to Colorado for Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall and Niels Jantrup. So definitely, before the Hurricanes had traded Martin Nikas to the Avalanche, you would have thought that they might have been in contact with Mikko Rantanen's agent to see if he's even willing to sign long term there. Because now you just got a player back, but you also lost one of the better players in the NHL in Mikko Rantanen. But maybe it wasn't a fit. Maybe it wasn't a fit. Maybe he was willing to sign, and maybe it wasn't a fit there. We did see what happened when they played the Buffalo Sabres, but that is seeming to be the thing when teams are playing the Buffalo Sabres, is they're scoring typically more than the Buffalo Sabres. And I know that sounds like a John Madden line, but it truly, unfortunately, is it's how you win hockey games, is score more than the other team. And that's why I said earlier, I'm more of the mind personally is if you can't beat them, because that means you're not only are you putting in the effort, not only are you kind of grinding on the other team to continually beat them down on the forecheck, on the back check, on the walls in the zone, keeping things to the outside, because we all understand. We all do understand truly that it is puck luck with some of these shots. Yes, it does take skill to score, to beat goaltenders, but not every shot is 100% clean shot. Whether that's the goaltender can't see it, whether that's the shooters, trying to get a deflection, doing a slap pass, anything like that. The only time it's really a clean shot is when they're truly on a breakaway, or when shot lanes are cleared out for them, and that in the NHL is typically not when shots go through, or how shots go through. You typically see some sort of traffic in there some way, shape, or form. So if you're a tougher team to play against, using that moniker of you can't beat them, you're going to more times than not be considered a very hard-working team, very hard team to play against. And this team right now is not that. And we noticed that last night. This team was up 5-3 with about 4 minutes left in the second period, and they gave up 2 goals right away to allow them to tie it. And then right coming out of the intermission, they gave up the 6th goal and couldn't get back to that. They couldn't get back to tie the game. Yeah, I mean that would definitely be a thing, Steve. Thank you again for your comment. I know you ride with us, on Saturdays typically, and Brian and I definitely appreciate that. Your continued support and questions and everything like that. So we definitely appreciate that. But that would be a very interesting thing, is if he turned right around and took Josh Norris and sent him to Vancouver to bring in Elias Pettersson and as part of another deal to get Pettersson in here to be the number 1 center, because that truly is, if you fix the 1C and you fix goaltending, I think the defense is fine, especially now that they brought in Bernard Docker as that second pairing defenseman to go with Owen Power, and then Clifton and Bryson on that last line. I can't believe I keep saying Bryson, but I mean he seems to be one of Lindy Ruff's guys, and he likes the way that he plays defense a lot, especially as that 6th defenseman. So we'll definitely see how that continues to progress and how that continues to work. So for Jacob Bryson, but excuse me, I really don't know I really don't have. I don't think the Sabres are going to do anything else today. I think that it's, if they do anything else, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be if there's anything else done, I think it's going to be a small deal involving Yoki Haru, but we'll definitely have to wait and see on that. There is nothing out there as far as rumors right now on Twitter or anything else. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look through Twitter here just to see if there's anything on. Let's see here. So as I'm going through this, let's touch on everything that has happened for the Sabres over the past couple of days. They did re-sign Jordan Greenway, 2 years, $4 million AAV. Today, before they made the trade, they re-signed Jason Zucker to a 2-year deal, $4.75 million AAV. And then they traded Dylan Cousins and Gilbert and a second-round pick for Josh Norris and Bernard Docker. Bernard Docker is a right-shot defenseman, and Josh Norris is a center. Both of which needed a change of scenery. So I'm perfectly fine with them both going doing that trade. It's a hockey type trade, kind of similar to what happened last year with Casey Middlestat and Bowen Byram. Both of them needed change of scenery. Bowen Byram seems to be playing well when he's with Dahlin, but when he does go with any other defenseman, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like he's all there. He's not the player that he is when he's with Dahlin, and Dahlin's an elite defenseman that is going to continue to get better. I don't think we've seen the end of the growth of Rasmus Dahlin, and he's here for the next 8 years, and I like that move. I like that they had re-signed him. As much as other people don't like the Owen Power thing, numbers say he's not having a great year this year, but I think that I truly don't think he's having a great year either. I don't think anybody on the Sabres is having a great year. But I think that he's 22 years old. I think that he's only going to get better as he continues to learn how to use his body in the NHL. I think he's only going to continue to get better as he is able to, learn to continue to use his skill in the NHL. I really, really do feel like they do have something in those two players that are going to be very good on the back end for the next at least 5 years. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about the Buffalo Sabres right now. It has me at such a loss for words for them. It has me at such a loss for words for all the fans out there that are still fans of this team. It has me, I really wish that that they would be more than what they are right now, because this city deserves them to be. This city deserves them to be a contender for the playoffs. This city needs them to be a contender for the playoffs and contending for the Stanley Cup and to raise Lord Stanley's Cup. And I just really, unfortunately, feel like it's it's unfortunate that this team continues to struggle, even after making changes upon changes throughout the years. But it feels like they're doing the same thing over and over again. Also, bringing in the same types of players, continuing to keep a young roster, continuing to allow bad goaltending to continue to happen. Because there's nights where UPL is good and he's standing on his head, but then, like, for whatever reason, he loses that concentration, loses the willingness to play, because whatever's happening in front of him, it's almost like that he's just not. He's not wanting to be there. And you can kind of see it is, as he's, pushing himself off, he's overcompensating on certain things when he's pushing from one side of the net to the other, and continuing to make himself look small. And I wish there was more. I wish there was another level to his game that he could get to that he just simply has not hit currently, and I don't know why there is nothing there for him. It's almost like he's just. I feel like that there is, like, this is what he is, and unfortunately he's now a Buffalo Sabre for after this year, the next 4 years, and I think that they need to move on from him so that they can bring in somebody. Even if you go with a couple of, I don't want to say proven veterans, but even if you keep James Reimer on the team next year and he's your backup, and then you have another goaltender come in, I really think that there is. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I really think that this team needs to bring in something. I don't think Devin Levi's ready next year. I want to look up his current stats in the NHL or the AHL. So right now with the Rochester Americans, he is. He has 3 assists. He's only allowed 61 goals against. He's had 5 shutouts. He has a 2.19 goals against average. He is 19-6-3, and he's got a 919 save percentage. So I think that is the best place for him right now, and I think he's probably going to need 1 more year of AHL development to be ready for the NHL game. I mean, he could surprise us all next year, and be that number 1 goaltender this team needs. But I truly am of the mind that he needs another year of seasoning down there. Maybe if they go into the year, obviously they're most likely going to go in the year again with UPL. For whatever reason, they continue to trust him that he's going to continue to get better, but we've only seen him get worse and worse. Like, I understand you played the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. They have a very, very good team. Gensel, Kucherov, they just acquired Bjorkstrand. They have Hagel, so on and so forth. Like, you could Hedman, you could go down the line, and they have a very, very good team. So I get why, it was 6-5, but there's reasons that game should have not been more than 5-3. That should have been a game that the Sabres won. They should have, and you saw it, is Vasilevsky gave up, one of the best goaltenders in the world, the last couple of years. he gave up 5 goals to the Sabres, but did not give anything up the third period. He stood on his head multiple different times, multiple different chances. I remember the one point-blank shot that Zach Benson had that could have tied the game, and he came out and took his lunch, and just it's unfortunate that we have to sit here and see that continue to happen game after game after game. The San Jose Sharks put up 5 goals against UPL. Like, at this point right now, something's got to change. Something's got to change, and something's got to give. And it just continues to not get any better. This team, Lindy Ruff, after the break, after the Four Nations break, said this team basically needs to win 4 out of every 5 games. For lack of better terms, go 3-1-1, get 7 points out of every 5 game set. So 7 out of 10 points, which is 3-1-1. And had they done that bare minimum, they would have been at the end of the year with 3 games remaining to potentially make a playoff push in those last 3 games. And Lindy Ruff said it on Monday night, came out and said, this is the most important game we have. And I get it. The most important game is the next game on the schedule. But he said that it was basically a must-win game, and they came out flat, and they just did not look good against the Canadians. And it's unfortunate. And then played the next night, and they even said they took the night off. You can't do that. You can't do that when you're a team trying to jump 5 other teams, and it really truly is unfortunate that did have to happen. And we saw what this team actually is. You get the couple of game outliers for this season where they play very, very well. They score goals. UPL looks like he's standing on his head and making saves, playing out of his mind, potentially being a first star, allowing very few goals. But then you go 5, 6, 7 games in a row where he's giving up 4, 5, 6 goals, or 3, 4, 5 goals, and you just can't have that in the NHL. Like, at some point, enough's enough, and we, as Sabres fans, have to sit back and not going to games, start not doing things, turning the TV off when the games are on. I love the Sabres as much, and it hurts me to not watch Sabres games, because I typically will watch every single Sabres game. Doing, at minimum this year with doing Hockey Hotline every Saturday, I'm watching every single game. But as a fan, if I wasn't doing this and not covering the team and things like that, I would not be watching all 82 games. I would not be, as invested as I am into the Sabres at this point right now, because it's very, very hard to continue to support this team when they're as bad as they are. Now we actually have another trade came in. Columbus Blue Jackets acquired Luke Kunin from the San Jose Sharks. The trade compensation we're still waiting on that. So it would be nice to see Kevin Adams make 1 or 2 more moves by the end of the trade deadline today, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that we're at a point right now where I think that we're at a point right now where we're still sitting here and going to be continuing to wait on Kevin Adams to find a way to acquire guys that are not on the their no movement clauses, no trade clause, because they have to continue to find guys that are, and that's why Pedersen is such a big push, because his no movement clause kicks in at the new league year at the end, at the end of this year, at the new league year for next year. So if you're able to go out and acquire him and get his money off of Vancouver's books and put him on yours, and this is for any team. This isn't just for the Buffalo Sabres. They should be trying to push, whoever it is should be trying to push and get that in there, now, to try and get him in there while he's not on a no movement clause and no trade clause. So so that there's no issue with your team that he can't say, oh, I don't want to go to you. And as we wait for Brian to come back here, it is now past the 2 o'clock hour. We have about 57 minutes until the trade deadline. And I leave it to you guys in the comments if anybody has anything to ask, anything to add. I would be remiss if I didn't ask what you guys think should Kevyn Adams should do either now or during the summer or at the draft, because that's the next big thing for the Sabres is they're gonna enter the lottery. We'll see if they have a top 5 pick, top 3 pick, what it is, and let's take a look at standings right now, wild card standings here or standings in general. Let's see here for the league. So the Buffalo Sabres are actually in 4th from last. The San Jose Sharks, 43 points. The Blackhawks, 46 points. The Nashville Predators with 53 points, and the Buffalo Sabres with 54 points. So that typically means that the Sabres will either win the lottery, or they will probably stay put, or move down one spot. Is typically what will happen. So we'll definitely see where that they are. But if they do not get a top 3 pick, if they do not move up at all, I think that they should be trading that pick. And I'm interested to see what you guys think in the comments. Should the Sabres trade that pick if it's not a top 3 pick? Depending on the player coming back, and if it is. I'm interested to hear about what you guys would think would be a good get back for that that pick that's protected for the top 3 picks. So let me know in the comments. We're just waiting on Brian to come back so we can have a conversation. It looks like the Avalanche have now acquired Charlie Coyle from the Bruins for Casey Middlestat. So Casey Middlestat 2 years in a row has now been traded. So Casey Middlestat going to the Boston Bruins. The countdown to 3 p.m. deadline, 55 minutes and 9 seconds on the Trade Breakers on the TSN Trade Center broadcast on ESPN Plus. So definitely check that out. If you are a hockey fan, definitely a good source for any of the happenings going on today. Let's see here. We do have some rumors coming out that Brock Besser potentially is on the move to the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll see if that picks up any steam. Let's see here. Also, Marchand rumors are starting to pick up now, and let's see. All right, and welcome back, Brian.
All right, so what have we missed? I just got out of a meeting. So
just myself going on for about an hour on how bad UPL is.
We just missed Casey Middlestat to Boston. How about that?
Yep. Just recapping some of the trades here. Casey Middlestat to Boston for Charlie Coyle. Luke Kunin, we still don't have trade compensation for that. And Mikko Rantanen officially goes to Dallas for Logan Stankoven and I have no idea what that says because it's in French. So that's catching you up, Brian. It looks like I'm just scrolling through Twitter as we're sitting here. It looks like Brock Besser rumors to Carolina are starting to pick up. And then Brad Marchand rumors are starting to pick up as well. It doesn't say where the rumors are for him. Just says that they're starting to pick up for him. So we have 54 minutes until the trade deadline, 52 minutes until the trade deadline. And then we'll remain with you guys for like about a half an hour afterwards as deals continue to trickle in. But again, I continue to ask for anybody in the comments to give us what you want to see happen. Ask us anything that you want to ask us. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our normal weekly hockey show. So it's more discussion on what we think is going to happen, and I'm of the mind right now that I think Kevin Adams is moving to the draft. I mean, I really don't think anything else is going to happen. Maybe besides maybe a Yoki Haru trade for like a 5th round pick. But
I think they'll get at least a 3rd for Yoki Haru. Defensemen are expensive. I could definitely see him fetching something. I still think the Sabres would like to do a hockey deal for him, but that's going to be a little bit difficult in my opinion for Yoki Haru. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. As far as our center go, I was kind of going back and forth here. I put something up there, but I guess that's long-term plans for center. I mean, are you thinking this maybe here? Maybe Kulich, Norris, McLeod.
That's what I said. I said Kulich, Norris, McLeod, and then either Krebs or Tyler Kozak, depending on if they potentially were to move off of Peyton Krebs. But I mean, that's basically like you're doing the same thing again. Like Norris is just taking the place of Dylan Cousins. He's not he's the same player, basically the same player as Dylan Cousins. He's not looking to pass, he's looking to shoot. And for whatever reason, Dylan Cousins lost that this year, is his want to shoot the puck. He was doing it earlier on in the year, but he just didn't hit the net. He, not making things happen on his, rather than giving the puck up, he's shooting the puck off the glass. And, I feel as though that's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But hopefully, Josh Norris is going to come in and be a better player than Dylan Cousins. Maybe he's got 20 goals this year and only 13 assists. He has not had more than 35 points except for the 21-22 season when he had 55. He had 35 goals that year. But I mean, I think this team, like, if you were to say slide in an Elias Pettersson in there as the top center, and your spine is now Pettersson, Kulich, Norris, and McLeod, I think that's four scoring centers that can go all the way down, and they can be swapped into any spot on the lines. I mean, and hopefully over these next 21 games or whatever we have left, we see that. We see the things that potentially will move forward into next year.
Yep. No, absolutely. If anything else, if Dylan Cousins gets back to a 60-something point player, but if Josh Norris gives us 55-something points as a second center and stabilizes our center position for the next 4 years with consistent play, and he elevates our power play, that may be more of what this team needs instead of Dylan Cousins, because the Sabres have plenty of forwards coming through the system that will supplant Dylan Cousins, and probably so maybe it kind of just puts pieces in better places. I think that's one of the problems that the Sabres have had now, Matt, is we don't develop the players correctly, right? You look at Columbus. Everybody is obsessed about the Sabres' age of their team, okay? Go look at Columbus's roster. Young players up and down that lineup. But what are they doing differently than the Sabres, right? They're developing players at a different pace. And then, of course, they mix in the same. They have James Van Riemsdyk. Doesn't that sound like a Jason Zucker type player to you? Does to me, right? So they have those kind of players, but they're developing their players into better habits. Again, losing is it's a culture. It does add up. It's hard for these guys. It's you heard Tage Thompson the other night talk about this team quitting. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, that was a pretty damning comment by Tage Thompson, and I gotta believe that. I mean, if I was the owner of the Sabres, I would have fired Adams a long time ago. But again, is firing Adams the only solution here, right? Is it the fact that Pegula doesn't spend as much in the scouting department as we probably should? Is it the fact that they don't put as much into analytics as they should? Yes. Is it that they probably need a more seasoned maybe GM with Kevin Adams or another voice in this organization? Yes, they do. Like, Pegula's got to put more into this product, and the bottom line is he's not. Billionaires don't become bees by accident. They become bees because they spend the money wisely. So.
Well, and that's the thing. One of the things while you were in your meeting for your actual job that I was saying is I think that Lindy Ruff needs to be in that war room to help be that other voice of hey, these are the guys or types of guys that we need on this team, so I can run my system or whatever you want to call it to have this team succeed. And yes, Kevin Adams might have the final say, but Lindy Ruff needs to be in that room to help build this team, because if it's just Kevin Adams doing it, we're going to continue another 10 years until he's gone.
Small move, Peter Mrazek, goalie to Detroit. Not a bad move for Detroit. Gives them another option down the stretch as they go for a playoff spot. Nothing big, but meh.
Yeah, Peter Mrazek,
one of those meh moves,
Yeah, Peter Mrazek is not a bad goaltender. I could definitely see that being a good move. That's definitely a good move for Detroit, especially with them, in the wild card here. Them being, in the wild card race, they're 1 point behind the Senators, 2 points behind Columbus. And if they start faltering on one side of, with one of their goaltenders, the other one gets the nod, and I think that's a good thing for them.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Yep. So that's what we got on that. And we'll see. We got about another 45 minutes?
45 minutes. 45 minutes and 16 seconds.
I love it. I love how Matt's got it down to the seconds.
Well, it's on the Trade Center, so.
That's why you're looking back there. You're looking at that Trade Center over there. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He put his eyes on it.
Got to continue watching it because didn't want any sound or anything like that on today. Messing with the microphone or anything like that. So, but I want to, real quickly, want to thank everybody for being in here with us. And real quick, just got to touch on our sponsors.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and again, thank you to all of our sponsors here today, and then also want to thank everybody for joining us on this lovely Friday here in Buffalo as the Buffalo Sabres try and find some way to continue to improve their roster. Brian, in your mind, if you were to pick one or two guys off the top 40 available that are not a Buffalo Sabre now, who besides Elias Pettersson, who would you want to add to this team to make them better?
Let me bring that up here and let's take a look together. So, where should I reference that? Is that under the fourth period? Is that a good one to look at?
No, I mean
Or,
you can
or
look at the fourth period. I mean, I was just talking about because I have the top 40 available on our side here, but
oh, okay, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let me take a look here. You know, it's kind of funny. I know people are gonna think I'm crazy, but Rasmus Ristolainen is a guy I would not mind bringing back. And here's what I'll explain. Rasmus Ristolainen was an eighth overall pick, right? And Rasmus Ristolainen had some. I remember he had a hat trick once in a game, and I think we were given this impression that Rasmus Ristolainen was going to be a 13 or 15 goal scorer when he just had some weird anomalies with some goal scoring, right? But Rasmus has size. He hits. He can block shots, right? Maybe he isn't an eighth overall pick, great, but he could give Buffalo that kind of grit and kind of nastiness that they're kind of looking for going forward. I don't think he would ever come back at this point, or if he would be interested. But I would not hate him coming back to the Sabres. I really wouldn't. And I know some fans are probably rolling their eyes here and saying,
I am too.
I know, and I get it. But I hope you understand what I'm looking for this team. It's not maybe Ristolainen isn't the best option in that sense, Matt, but that's the kind of guy. Ryan O'Reilly, I see his name there now. I was listening to Elliot Friedman, who he's one of the best in the business. He said they're kind of treating Ryan O'Reilly that he has a no trade, even though he doesn't have a no trade. That. So I don't know if that he wants to really leave Nashville. And that he would, again, that's a guy that probably would not come back to the Sabres. It's pretty funny. Ricard Raquel's a guy I wouldn't mind either. He's a nice player as well. But I think he's more of a buy now type guy. But I think he'd be a nice addition. The problem with Brock Besser is he really wants to get paid. And what I mean, he wants $9 million plus or more. And I just don't think the Sabres are in a position where they should be doing that. For a forward that is another guy with health concerns. I mean, do we want two guys like that? Now we have, Josh Norris in that capacity. Do we want to then add a Brock Besser as well? So,
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I'm just taking a look through, and I know I'm gonna probably get flamed for it, but.
But let me ask you this. I mean, are the Sabres any worse now today than they were yesterday? No. I think they're just different, and we're going to have to see how this all kind of works with. At least we have Josh Norris to look forward to in the next few weeks to see how he fits. I mean, it's, again... Even
if Josh Norris is no better than Dylan Cousins, I hope he is. I truly do hope he is. For this team's sake, I hope he is. But I truly think adding Bernard Docker is definitely the better of the two situations, because your baseline is Dylan Cousins for Josh Norris, right? But you're adding probably a good. So now your top four defensemen are Dahlin, Byram, Power, and Bernard Docker. I think that's probably one of the, it's going to be up there in the league. And all of them are within 24 to 26 years old.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just checking to see if there are any deals. You know how this time of year goes.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, it's Craig Smith. Oh, wow. It wasn't just Peter Mrazek. It's actually a bigger deal. Craig Smith and Peter Mrazek to the Detroit Red Wings for Joe Veleno. So definitely a bigger deal. Not just the goaltender going.
Yep. Devils got
And
Cody Glass. Looks like that's. We'll see. And again, these are minor deals, but you know
it
things.
feels like it feels like that's kind of what happens is all the bigger deals happen earlier in the day now. And I remember it used to be like when when I don't want to say when I was a kid, but even like 10 years ago, it was always the bigger deals would be the ones rolling in at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:15 in the afternoon. Whereas you'd get all the smaller deals. Now you're seeing all the bigger deals happen. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Before and even early in the morning on the day of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of funny how it's changed, a little bit.
Yep. I want to give a shout out to Matt Diegert, folks. 2 hours, 19 minutes in, and still going strong on the live feed. I love it. The Iron Man is at it. He's still going strong on this trade deadline show. So I took
Well,
a break. He
it's
did
just
not.
it's just a primer until the NFL draft where we have I'll be on myself the first night and the second night of that. We're probably talking 4 hours each night. I know that student will be with me on the first night. I'm still
Nice.
looking for somebody for the second night, and I know that Whittle's doing the day 3. So day 3 will be awesome with Whittle.
Let me know.
So
Maybe we can talk about that offline. We'll see what I
Yeah,
can come up with.
absolutely.
If you need anything, we'll see what we can cook up for sure. So let's see. Let's see. So we got a
36 minutes and 35 seconds until the
yeah. It's
the
been a
end,
pretty
end of the deadline.
the thing is, I do love doing the trade deadline day show. But it's really a trade deadline week, and you got to kind of look at everything together, right? Like we had some other interesting deals. The Seth Jones deal, Spencer Knight trade early this week, which I thought was a very compelling deal. I love that trade for Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't think Seth Jones was going to do anything for them, and they potentially got a very talented franchise goalie for the foreseeable future. So that was a nice move, and then they got him off the books. We'll see if maybe Ryan Donato could be a guy that's on the move for the Blackhawks. I expect the Sabres to do one more deal. I do. In fact, I think they may do two. I think they may not be done. Just something in my gut tells me this could have opened things up for for the Sabres to make some other deals. But if anything else, like we said, we may see more. We may see more deals that open up now in the summer for the Sabres as the cap room goes way up. And the Sabres are going to be one of those teams to say, hey, we got a lot of room. They're going to be able to make some moves. We'll see. The other thing, too, when I analyze a trade, Matt, I also say to myself, I want to see the next couple of moves that they make as well, right? Like we just traded Dylan Cousins, and some fans might be upset about it a little bit. But what if trading Dylan Cousins opens the door for another forward to come in? What if it opens it up? What if we added another center and Josh and everything just fits better? So you can't always just look at everything right at that moment and say, oh, bad trade, not a good trade, right? So there's really multiple layers to it, in my opinion. So, I mean, if anything, we should have learned that when we got Tage Thompson. I mean, people were destroying the Sabres for that trade for the longest time, and that turned out to be good for both. St. Louis got a Stanley Cup, which was ultimately why we're watching the sport in the first place. And, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's with Tage Thompson and we sit here and we're talking about Tage Thompson is the year before he really came into his own. He just he was almost traded again for like a 5th round pick or something like that. I remember them talking about that a couple of years ago. Is he almost got turned around and traded for something because he wasn't he wasn't turning into what he was in the U.S. development stuff. So I mean, it you know, it's unfortunate, but
Yeah, that's for sure. My Devil friends are not happy with this Cody Glass move.
well, I
So,
mean,
he's just an average, listen, you need guys like this though. I mean, he's just one of those guys that could score 14 something goals. He's a
yeah,
sixth overall pick in the 2017 draft. I mean, that guy was supposed to be really, really good. Sounds
yeah.
like someone that we just traded, a number 7 overall pick in a draft. Who was that guy? Dylan Cousins. That's right.
Yeah, that's and it's unfortunate because Dylan Cousins had such promise. I
know.
remember him getting kicked out of that outdoor game, and watching from the sidelines with Terry Pegula there, and that turned into just nothing, man. And it just
Matt, you want to hear something wild? I had some tweets back in the day that I was saying, look at Dylan Cousins from Whitehorse, Northwest Territories, small town, a kid that plays with an edge, a kid that plays like he wants to prove something to everybody. Who's another 7th overall pick in the town of Buffalo who came in with an edge, wanted to prove people wrong? Big 6'5", 200-something-pound quarterback from Fireball, California.
oh yeah.
Right? I was making comparisons to maybe Dylan Cousins, could be our Josh Allen, where he's a guy that's our leader. He's one of our captains. Like, we were calling him captain material down at some point. You remember that? Life comes at you fast, folks. I mean, It really, really, really does.
Well,
And if that doesn't illustrate it, then I really don't know what does.
and it's something that we've talked about a few times on Hockey Hotline is, the simple fact that, you can't take the year you're in for granted, right? Because like we talked about it. Look where they were in 2022. They missed playoffs by one point. Had Kevin Adams done anything more than Jordan Greenway, that team maybe makes the playoffs. But then everybody's like, "Oh, this team they're gonna continue to get better." And when you have a career year, it's a career year for a reason. You're not gonna have a career year every single year. Like, Tage Thompson scores almost 60 goals that year. He's not gonna. He hasn't sniffed that in the last 2 years. Yes, he was hurt last year. I get that, but he only has 30 goals this year. Like, maybe if you do put him with an Elias Pettersson, or maybe if Josh Norris is the number 1 center, maybe putting him with him, or maybe if Tage Thompson is your number 1 center, maybe that you have Peterka and Kulik on his wings, maybe that because I care less if he scores 60 goals again. But if he gets to that 100-point level, that's the part that I want. I want the 100-point guy. I don't want. I could care less if he scores 60 goals and 40 assists. I want him to have. I want him to have potentially 60 assists and 40 goals. Like, I'm much better with that than the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. So let's see. Come on, Sabres. Give me something else here. How about JJ Peterka in a package for Alex Lafreniere? How about that as a wild? That was one of my thoughts, actually, that I was coming up with when that rumor stuff was coming about. Was Rangers need a defenseman, Bowen Byram, maybe a Peterka Byram involving a Lafreniere package and some other stuff. I mean, I know it's a wild take, but again, now just saying, and maybe guys that need a little change of scenery, but. JJ Peterka last night summed up the Sabres in a nutshell. Took a terrible penalty in the third, a lazy period in the third period, and then made a tremendous back check play 5 minutes later. That's just that's how he is. That's how this whole team is. They tease and torment you. They show you some things, and then they just do these inexplicable things. It's just frustrating. It's just I don't, sometimes, you sit there, Matt, and we're content creators for the Sabres, and you want to come up with ideas and you want to come up with things, and then there's some nights, to be perfectly blunt, I'm sitting there saying, what do we do? Right?
Right.
What does this organization do? Right? And I'm sure you feel it too. We all feel it. And Sabre fans, we all feel it too. I mean, we want this
Well, and
team to
that's
win so badly,
yeah.
or just be a product that we can get excited about.
Just be
That
competent.
plays,
Be competent.
yeah. hmm You know, it's we used to be a team that, growing up, I mean, some of you Sabre fans aren't old enough like me. We weren't always the best team. We would have some 90-point years, 95-point years. But I'll tell you, they had some lunch pail guys. They went to work. They hit. They played physical. We had great goaltending. We had good, solid defense. We were a fun team. I mean, remember when Ted Nolan? They didn't win Stanley Cups, but they were fun to watch. And that's the thing that,
Like,
you know,
I never got to watch them, but this team has never not had good goaltending, and
yeah,
it feels like the last 10
really,
years they have
since the
had
drought.
horrible
Yeah,
since Ryan Miller. They have not had good
yeah.
goaltending. Like, I mean, you go from Bob Sauvé to Tom Barrasso, to Darren Pupa. Even though he wasn't the best goaltender in the world, but he was still competent. He was still making saves for this team. Then you had Clint Malarchuk, and you had Grant Fuhrer, and then you had Trefilov, and then you had Hasek, and then you had you had Steve Shields, and you had Marty Baron, and then you had
Steve Shields.
and then you had Ryan Miller. Like, we went from good goaltending to elite goaltending to good goaltending to elite more. And it just feels like this team, it just is not getting anywhere with, having luck with goaltenders.
Yep. And we're waiting for a guy to be our, quote, for lack of a better term, savior in net. There's no
you can't
guarantee.
rely on.
I mean,
You can't rely on that. You got to go
yeah.
out and find it.
Yep. And it's just, in the meantime, I think there are solid goalies that we could have gotten to pair with UPL. I mean, we're trying to get by with, and listen, I'm not hating. I think James Reimer has actually put a very professional effort into being a goalie this year for the Sabres. He's had some decent moments. He's an older goalie. He's been around the block. But what do we really expect out of him? I want a guy that could play 40 games. I want a guy that you could pair with UPL, that every night we're not going to be at a massive disadvantage, right? That, and I keep pumping my, pound the table for a guy like Thatcher Demko, and I'm sure there are other goalies out there that we're missing, but again, that comes back to, is it really just all of our defense? Is it? I don't think it is. I don't think there's a confidence that these players have in our goaltending. You were going to say, Matt? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to go real quickly just to give you some context to all that. Is Devin Levi is, yes, he's an RFA at the end of this year. So they need to re-sign him to another deal. They need to, so they need to re-sign him to play in the AHL and potentially be the future in the NHL. But next year, you have Cal Peterson, former Sabre, technically, Robin Leonard, Aiden Hill, Ville Husso, Jake Ottinger, Jake Allen, Alexander Georgiev, Frederick Anderson, Vitek Vanasek, Anton Forsberg. I think we think that Marc-Andre Fleury is most likely retiring, right?
Yeah, he is.
Daniel Vladar, Ilya Samsonov, Jonathan Quick, Capo Kakinen. I mean, I'd be okay picking up any one of these guys. I would be perfectly fine if the Sabres traded UPL and put an offer sheet on Jake Ottinger.
I would love that.
Or go after Aiden Hill. from Vegas.
Yep.
And be that guy for the next year or two until Devin Levi is ready. Sign Aiden Hill till he's 30, 31 years old. Sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal. Give him a little bit of a raise, pay him like $6 million a year, and have him, be the goaltender of now. And that allows you, you to trade UPL. That allows you to trade. That allows you to do whatever you wanted to do. And while you were gone, I was talking about, UPL just seems to, have kind of leveled out as, and is only going to be what he is. And he's giving up 3, 4, 5 goals a night.
Yep.
And you can't have that because, you got to have a guy that's going to, hold on.
Oh, no problem. You get the.
Oh no, I was looking at something. It came across my Twitter feed just real quickly. It said Quinn Hughes to Minnesota, but it's just a.
Oh.
It's a dumb account. It's not anything real.
Wyatt Johnston in Dallas completing a 5-year, $8.4 million extension.
Yep.
That's a little higher than I thought that would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a heck of a player. I love Wyatt Johnston, actually. So that, a little higher, but again, that's going to be. It's like, again, not to make this about the Bills, but you saw the Terrell Bernard signing this morning, and if anybody thinks that's high, get back to me in 48 hours and let's have that conversation again. The money right now in these leagues that are flying around is going to be hefty. It's going to be high. And, I think the thing with UPL, Matt, is, and I think this is something that the Sabres, and I'm not even gonna criticize Kevin Adams too hard on this, is that we all know the tax situation in the NHL. We all know the big elephant in the room that Gary Bettman refuses to acknowledge is that there are certain markets that have built-in advantages. And you hear Dallas fans talking all this crap, but they don't realize that, hey, you have a $8 to $10 million advantage on your books that a lot of teams don't have, and making it much easier for you to sneak these guys in under their books. But Adams decided, hey, we got to sign these guys long-term to try to negate the tax disadvantages that we have against other markets. Montreal did it. We saw it with their big three, right? They did it with Suzuki. They did it with Slafkowski. And they did it with Caulfield, right?
Right.
But you notice the difference? Look at the 3 names I named, right?
Right.
These guys are going to be – but UPL, they probably shouldn't have – I understand why he signed into the contract he did. And I didn't think the number based on what he did last year was okay. But he only did it for 1 season. Mm-hmm. Right, Matt? And a friend of mine is a Ranger fan. We always say you got to see things twice before you say, okay, this is a pattern, right? That this is right. And now we're seeing that maybe we did the same thing with Matthias Samuelsson. We had a good run with Matthias Samuelsson. We gave him an 8-year contract. Why? 8 years? What am I giving? They're so afraid of losing the player. So again, I'm going to circle back to JJ Peterka. I'm not giving him 8 years. I'm giving him 3. Bridge him. Don't be afraid. And I'm going to tell you why don't be afraid. Because if you create a good culture here and he likes it, he's going to stay if you give him a contract early enough in 2 or 3 years. Right. Give him 3 years. A, you're going to pay him less. B, if you need to trade him, it's easier to trade him. Imagine if we gave Dylan Cousins a bridge deal. Imagine what we would have gotten this return with Josh Norris. You think we're sending them a second-round pick? Absolutely not. They're sending us a second round. They're sending us a first-round pick in Josh Norris for Dylan Cousins. I'm telling you right now, that would be the case. They got to stop giving out these long-term deals because it creates a culture of, oh, I'm good. I'm fat off my contract. No. Make them feel like they're an edge. Make some of these guys work for these deals. Don't give an 8-year deal to Owen Power. I'm sorry about a heater. This drives me nuts with the Sabres.
See, and I'm of almost the same mind. I'm okay doing it with certain players. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay doing it with Owen Power. Owen Power is 22 years old.
Yeah.
It's not, and even though he's having, for, numbers wise, a bad year, you can see in certain ways he's developing. You can see in certain ways he's starting to get certain things within the game of hockey. He came into the Sabres at 19 years old. He's been here for 3 years. Like, I'm fine with them giving him that 8 years because he'll be here till he's 30. And, by the time you need to trade, if you need to trade him, if he's not a good player, at 25 years old, 26 years old, he has 3 years left on his deal, and he is going to be making, $8.5 million or whatever it is, or whatever the AAV is on it. So I'm okay with something like that because you're not going to. He's a first-round draft pick. He's 6'6". He's 22 years old. Once he starts learning to use his body the correct way, once he starts, once he starts the skill part of it, that translating to the NHL, once he starts figuring that out, that how to sit. But you know what they need? They need somebody that's going to come in that's going to teach him how to play that game. They need somebody that, and that comes to, getting guys on the bench that Lindy wants on the bench, and not just be stuck with what he's being stuck with. Because it truly is unfortunate that, you've seen a regression not only last year, but again, he's kind of, that regression is kind of like leveled out. And you see the flashes. You see those, you might not see it in him scoring, but you see the flashes in what, he had a couple years ago when he first came into the league. When teams didn't know what to do with him on the other side. And it's almost like they have to give him, take the shackles off of him and let these guys just go play. Like, and that's truly the thing. Is in these last 21 games, take everything off of these guys and let them just go play hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not if you're not allowing these guys to just play hockey, what's the point of Because in the end, I get it. You want to have some sort of system there. You want to have guys funneling, and you want to have guys. This guy goes up, so you got to have somebody drop back. And you got to have this guy play defense. You got to have this guy come back. You got to have, but in the end, if you're not scoring goals, if you're not stopping pucks from going in the net, what's the point of having a system?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Still, sorry for refreshing. You know how it is these last 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
I don't expect too much here. I think, well,
I mean, I really don't expect anything else. I expect it to be pretty quiet for the rest of the day. I expect the at the the 3:15 mark, Kevin Adams to come out and say he's done, or the Sabres to say that they're done. Nothing else is in the works. Nothing else has been submitted. I truly expect, the guys that are here to be here.
One thing I like about Norris too, I saw a graphic the Sabres put up on there. Norris has a 53.8% face-off percentage. I think that's something this team lacks a little bit. Now, what's weird is Colorado is one of the worst face-off teams in the league, and it doesn't really affect them too much. But I think for the Sabres, we've seen it. I don't know about you, Matt, but I feel like we're down a goal late. Oh, we need to win a draw? We lose it. We lose it. We lose it, right? You need to...
Well, that's what happened last night. When they started that power play, not the second one, not the 6-on-3 power play, but the 6-on-4 power play. The Lightning had won the faceoff and came within inches of scoring a goal. came back down the ice because it was an icing. Came back down the ice. The Sabres won the draw and were able to control the puck a little bit. But then, it's just, I would like to. That's one thing that this team has been lacking since Paul Gaustad left, is that guy that you can throw out there and win a faceoff when it's needed. Even if that guy's jumping right off the ice, that's something that this team needs is the guy that's going to win 60 to 65% of his faceoffs. Because nobody's going to go above like 63% in faceoff wins. I mean, maybe in a game somebody wins 80%, but that's not
the only guy I could ever think of is Patrice Bergeron, who's one of the best ever, right? But it's rare that you're going to get that kind of percentage. But 60, but listen, if he helps the power play and helps things like that, listen, and I'm going to say this right now, Dylan Cousins may go on to Ottawa and have a better career than he's doing now. Listen, there's nothing we can do about that because he wasn't going to do it with the Sabres, period. But if Josh Norris again comes in, gives us 50 to 60 points, gives us that 30 goal potential, really helps our power play, especially the secondary one or even the first, I'm okay, but I can live with it. And if he's better defensively and he gives us a little size, I'm good with it. He seems to be a good guy. I mean, Tkachuk loves him. We're bringing that kind of player into this locker room. I'm good with it. That's the thing. Like, fans obsess about. We've been burned so many times, right? Lately. Oh, Cousins is gonna. No, maybe this one won't be so bad. So let's just give it a shot, and we'll see what happens.
Real quick, just a non-trade news. Euro Vakinen for the Rangers. They signed a new extension, 2-year, $1.55 million.
Okay. Listen, I like what Drury's done. They've I think the Rangers are setting themselves up for the offseason and maybe beyond. They do have some salary cap. Well, they got some contracts that are kicking in next year. Shesterkin and Lafreniere are getting big bumps next year. So they're gonna have to account for that, and Drury knows that they have a lot of contracts on their books that are hard to move. They have a lot of no movement clauses. They got older players, but they've reworked some of their defense in terms of speed and whatnot. And there's some things that they needed to do. So, and I love the JT Miller move for them. That was a steal, it was a theft. I would have loved to bring him into Buffalo, but again, we all know he wasn't coming here. Right. So that would have been a great move because he's really energized the Rangers since they got him. And, we'll see what comes about. And again, we're going to start pivoting into the draft. There are two players that I absolutely love in this draft, Matt, and there's a reason for it. Both guys, they say, are team first guys, and they are great in the locker room. And those are the players I'm looking for in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And it's Porter Martone and it's James Higgins. These two guys, I want part of this organization. So the Sabres don't have to win the lottery necessarily this year to get one of these two guys. So, and there's Roger McQueen as well as a big physical forward as well. So there are three guys that we're going to get into deep that we can pick from. That is something this organization needs. And I know Sabre fans don't want to hear about the draft. I get it. I understand it, Matt. We're all in the same boat. But again, this is where we're at. This is the cards that we're dealt, and we're going to have to go forward. And let's see if we got a little trade here in the next 10 minutes. Over under 1.5 trades for the Sabres before today left. You're going to go. And on your over, I'm giving you plus 400 money. I'm going to give you huge odds on that, Matt. So you're going to go.
I'm still taking the under.
You're still going the under. We're going to give you plus 800. Which is what 800. Do you hear anything on that?
No, I mean, sure. $10 in the last 10 minutes. Winning $80. Sure, I'll take the plus 800. Right.
You remember? You ever watch The Office? Where Kevin Malone says, anytime someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. So John Cougar Mellencamp wins an Oscar. I'm going to be a very rich man.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, man.
Yeah, I wish that something else would happen for the Sabres, for Sabres fans.
Yeah.
They're talking about Elias Pettersson on on the trade center. But like I said, I think that at this point right now, yes, they started listening to this stuff again last night, but I truly think that that's more going to be a summer move now, a draft day move, because if the Sabres are not in the top 5, I think you got to trade that pick. I think if they're not top 3, I think you got to trade that pick. And it's kind of sickening to think for the Sabres that the top prospect again this year is a defenseman. So
that's actually good. I don't want to win the lottery this year. I don't care. I just want to be in the top 5.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they were to win the lottery.
Yep. But again, this is about the draft. I mean, listen, Wyatt Johnston. We just spoke about him. He was a 23rd overall pick. He's not a top 5 pick. Jason Robertson was a 2nd round pick, by the way, for Dallas. A lot of their guys, they're not top 5 picks. So the Sabres also need to really get, like, in terms of their late first and stuff, this is where I wish they could turn a guy like Yuki Haru. Even if I got to flip a 3rd round pick, give me a late one. Like, prepare some guys. Give me some second. I think there's a stat. I still got to find it, Matt. 2nd round picks play 100 games or more in the NHL only 20% of the time. 2nd round picks are not the same in football, folks. If you're a football fan and you're saying, "Oh, my team overpaid a 3rd round pick for this guy," no, you didn't. Third round picks in NHL very, very rarely have any significance. In the NFL, though, you and I both know 3rd round picks can be very valuable in the NFL. 2nd round pick, they're totally different animals. So
I mean, here's a quick little thing for you. If name me a 2nd round pick that is playing in the NHL besides Kucherov right now.
Jason Robertson, that's the only guy I can think of.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, there are others. I mean, there's some, but it's not, it's. I think fans think about football and they think about 2nd, 3rd round picks, and it doesn't compute the same way. It just doesn't. Now, not to suggest that you shouldn't have those picks, Matt. I think there's some years you do. You don't want to strip yourselves down completely, because you can hit on those picks. You can do it. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just not. But anyway, we got 6 minutes.
Yes, 6 minutes.
Saying everyone out there, thanks for listening. If you have comments, if you're in our comments section, come on in. We want to hear from you. Want to hear us talking this whole time. So if you have any feedback about trades that your teams have made, feel free to bring them in. And I'm just reading a dream lineup for the Sabres in 25-26. This fan came up with, and I'll just read this to you. Oh, this sounds nice. I'll tell you what. Has Tage as a center, and I don't like that. Although imagine this: Jordan Kyrou, Ehlers and Thompson on the first line, Tuck, Norris, and Paterka, Benson, Kulich, Zucker, Greenway. Oh wow, this team would be good. Ryan McLeod is a 4th center. Ooh, I mean, and then you bring in Brandon Carlo and Dante Fabio. Those are the kind of defensemen I'm good with. Yeah. Bring those guys in. Send out Bowen Byram. Have Uka and Levi as our goalies next year, because I think Levi will be ready at that point.
See, I don't. I think he needs one more year in the AHL.
Yeah, I'm on the fence, but I could definitely go on your side with that. I'm really mixed.
Because if this team, here's the only reason I say it. Now, it's not. It's more because to protect him than to say he's ready or not, right? So my whole thing with keeping Levi down there is to protect him and continue allowing him to play and get minutes and everything like that, to get time in the net. But I also don't want him on another shitty Sabres team. Like, I don't want this team to basically be the same team that they have now moving into next year, and then expect Levi to come in, because that's only going to hurt his development. Because if you're playing constantly from behind and constant hockey that you're behind in, then what are you doing? Like, why? Because Levi's
Yep.
not going to come in. Yeah, he might be a top 5 goaltender in 3-4 years, but that's not going to be what it is next year behind whatever they put on the ice next year. So why not keep him in the AHL and keep him protected, keep him getting games, keep him getting those minutes that he's going to need to continue his development, rather than put him behind this Sabres team that they're going to put out next year.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I just, I didn't come into today with these massive expectations of getting a guy like an Elias Pettersson. I didn't see it. So,
I agree. I didn't expect anything really to happen today. Minus potentially Dylan Cousins moving, minus potentially Yoki Haru moving, but I would have liked to see something happen other than the one move that we've seen happen. When does the Ryan Reeves thing hit, or did he already clear waivers?
He cleared waivers. I just, it's funny. Not to get, some Sabre fan called me stupid for suggesting that we want Ryan Reeves in. And then again, you watched the game last night. Ray Ferraro, who's played a lot of hockey, first thing, how come, there's nobody there sticking up? You can't have your captain in those situations. I don't want Rasmus Dahlin in those situations. You know why? We're paying him $11 million a year. I don't want him getting hurt because of a skirmish. I don't want him getting cheap shotted. I want a guy on that bench. You want to mess with my captain? Well, look down the bench to see Ryan Reeves sitting there, and he's got these eyes. He wants to take your head off. You're going to think about it next time. Right? The Rangers have, what's his name? Who's that big guy that they got?
Rempe.
Rempe. Look at you. Want to mess with Rempe? Guy's an animal. He comes in there and wants to take your head off. Like those.
No,
those guys
him going after him talking to Tom Wilson the other day. I was just like, I would love a player like that on the team. Sometimes you got to sacrifice that one spot on the team to protect your guys, because you put that guy on the ice. If you're touching Rasmus Dahlin, if you're touching Alex Tuck, if you're touching now Josh Norris, if you're touching Tage Thompson, that guy on the fourth line that's playing fourth line wing is going to hop on the ice at some point and take your head off.
Yep. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, those things still have value in terms of guys that are willing. And again, we talked about this a lot with the Bills, guys that are willing to do the things, anything necessary for your teammates and things like that. That's the one good thing I'm hearing about Josh Norris. Seems like a good teammate, right? Seems like a guy that can do some of the little things that this team is really looking for. I'm willing to give it a shot, right? I'm not loving the move. I'm not hating the move. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if you feel the same way, Matt.
With anything else, time will tell how much, because you can like the move today, just like last year with yourself, with Bowen Byram. Look where Casey Middlestad is. He's on his third team in a year, basically. And Bowen Byram's still here as a Buffalo Sabre, and all indications are from anything Kevin Adams has said or anything that we've heard is Bowen Byram's, they're going to try and sign him, which I'm fine with. You gotta have good defensemen. You gotta have those. Yes, the third line of defense is not needed for super high-end play. You're just expecting them to play good defense. But those top 4 defensemen, you want to have them. You got to have at least 4 good defensemen on your team to, in today's NHL anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we are officially ended with the trade deadline. We will be staying here with you for at least another 15 minutes. just to see if anything comes through. But we are gonna again thank our sponsors here real quick.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
As of 52 seconds ago, last minute possibility, hearing Brad Marchand could be on his way to Florida.
Wow.
That's from Elliot Friedman about a minute ago. So, again, like I said, we'll see if any deals are trickling through, and then you'll see us again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Sharp, and for sure, hopefully, maybe we'll be talking about one more deal for the Sabres here. Hopefully,
Yep.
in the next few minutes. But
Matt, I just want to say it's been a pleasure doing this with you. As tough as it is being a Sabre fan, as you and I know, and I know a lot of us out there, we want so much more for this team. But we're here for you. This is what we're here for. We want to hear from all of you out there about the Sabres and just about this team. These fans deserve so much better. We know it. We know there's plenty of us out there, right? Matt, there's plenty of us that are going on that want this to really pop. We'll have to see what happens with Marchand here. It's funny. I was just looking at the power play of the Dallas Stars. I know I keep talking about the Dallas Stars, but it's funny. They are my model franchise right now, right? Thomas Harley was a first round pick, late first rounder. Rupe Hintz was a second rounder. Jason Robinson was a second rounder. Wyatt Johnston was a first rounder. You see where I'm going here?
Yep. These
are all homegrown guys for Dallas. They're doing something right. Why don't we pluck someone from the Dallas organization? Maybe their assistant GM or something. Maybe there's something that they're looking at, right? I want those kind of players, those kind of minds in my organization, right? And that's where I have a problem with Pegula. That's my problem. Like, I want to look at what they're doing. I want to see what's going on there. And it's not even about their tax situation. I know I obsess about it on this thing, but it's not. The more I think about it. So,
but that's the thing. Everybody's blaming Terry Pegula. Everybody's blaming Terry Pegula for this. Everybody's blaming him for not spending the money. Everybody's blaming him for being the owner of the Buffalo Sabres. I can't blame him. He's done whatever he can for both teams. He's not the one making the deals. He's not the one. He's the one providing the money. That's it. And he's the one. So I would blame this more on Kevin Adams than anything else, because he's the one that's got to make these deals. He's the one. It's not Terry Pegula on the phone. It's not him. Because when he first came in, do you remember what he did for Christian Ehrhoff?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Canucks are done. No extension for Bezer. I know we're going to be hitting a lot of quick things here, so I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, I do. I do remember.
What did he do?
Hold on.
They hopped on a fucking plane.
Yep.
They hopped on a plane and went and got him to change his mind on waiving the no trade clause. He's willing to spend the money. Right. He's willing to spend the money. He's willing to do all that stuff. It's Kevin Adams and whatever, not like. And my whole thing with him is on the. I had the rant a couple weeks ago about how as a GM you're basically just a glorified salesperson. You're selling the team to not only the players, but you're selling your players to the other teams that are making. So why are you not staying on the phone until you have a deal done?
I would say this though. I'm gonna rebut this just a little bit about Pegula. Okay, he was very impatient with the Bills. Remember Rex Ryan, these guys, he got rid of those guys no problem. got rid of him fast, and finally got the right combination. But with this guy, Kevin Adams, for 5 years, how could he fly to Montreal and say the solution is within this room? After an almost 13-game winless streak, you brought in Lindy Ruff. That was his call, by the way, because Kevin Adams says, oh, we interviewed all these other people. I'm going to call complete BS on that. I don't think they interviewed anybody. I think they wanted Lindy Ruff, and I'm not saying Lindy Ruff was the wrong hire. I don't know if Lindy Ruff was the right. I don't think he's the complete problem here. But is Terry Pegula giving the scouting department the necessary funds to go out there? Again, draft the right players, scout the right players, give Adams that structure, or he's, what solution is within the room? You've had 5 years now. What's going on?
Brian, whose job is it to hire those people?
Kevin Adams. But does he have the authority to hire?
I'm sure.
I guess that's the question that we don't have answered. And if you're right, I agree with you, right? If he's telling, maybe he's telling Pegula that, but who knows? Oh man. You know why we're laughing too, so it's just the tank is working. Yeah, it is.
But when it truly comes down to it, I would be on the side of saying that Kevin Adams does have the funds, and minus the COVID year and maybe the year after. Okay, I would say that he has all the funds that he could possibly want to go out and do what he needs to do. Because if he went to Pegula and said, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it.
Oh, the official trade is done, by the way. Oh, Ricard Raquel to Carolina. There's another one coming in. So here we go. Got a few deals coming in late under the bell.
Brad Marchand to the Jesus. That Panthers team, man. Reinhart, Barkov, Marchand. They're going to be a tough team to play against again in the playoffs.
Good luck. It's weird though. As much as I don't like Marchand, I'm kind of sad that he's left Boston because he's played for them forever. I do like one thing I love about this, and something to celebrate. I'm really enjoying this Ovechkin goal thing. I love Ovechkin's a guy to celebrate. Like, he stayed with Washington his whole career. It's kind of cool to see that, but it's gonna be weird seeing him in a different uniform, right? Not with the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
I wonder what Boston got. I wonder what Boston got for him. I'll tell you, if they get Lundell, that's a steal. I love it for Boston, but we'll see. We'll see if
I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it could. This could be a pure rental too, where Marchand goes there and he comes right back to Boston.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Or he may retire, or he may, who knows? Like, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. Yep. Well, we'll see.
Just Marchand, Kachuk, and Bennett on the same team.
How to build a team for 1,000, Alex. These are the kind of players I want Buffalo to think about. And again, Porter Martone in this draft, Kachuk clone. Sign me up, Matt. Sign me up. Those are the kind of players I want in this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I'm excited to kind of get through. So I'm excited to get through the NFL side of things, and then kind of move to once we know where the Sabres are drafting, because that happens like April, whatever, just after the season ends. I'm excited to see where the Sabres are going to be drafting and really do a deep dive on the prospects from there. But man, it is just I'm glad the Sabres did one thing today. They did one thing last year. They did one thing today. Barring
I still
anything
expect
else.
Oki Harrow's getting traded. I do. I'm not giving up on this. And you know what? I think they should. Oh, Carlo to Toronto. Good move there. I like that. I like Carlo to Toronto. Toronto's making some nice moves. It's funny. I like what Toronto's been doing lately. I like their goaltending situation. for them, it's really about, can their big boys be the big boys in the playoffs? Because I think the
Yeah.
ancillary parts there are very, very good right now in Toronto. So we'll see how that all works out. But
I'm super annoyed with just as a Sabre fan, like every year when we're just sitting here and it's just, trade deadline's over and, the Sabres did like nothing. But as this year I'm kind of like, as a content creator, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, cool. We didn't do that much. So now we have more stuff to talk about. We have more potential things that could happen because there wasn't a lot of things that happened around the NHL today, other than the things that we kind of expected to move. But now we move on to the draft, where trades can still happen. This isn't like we say all the time. This isn't the last year for football. This isn't the last year for hockey. Same thing. Like there's next year, and unfortunately, it is another year where, hey, there's always next year, and it sucks, but there is always next year. And only one team can win every year. And in the end, it's not the Sabres this year. But it doesn't have. It may not be the Leafs. It may not be the Montreal Canadiens. It may not be the Colorado Avalanche. So they're even though that they have built these great teams,
Canes are done for the day. By the way,
yeah,
just announcing some teams. Yep.
I'm just waiting for the Sabres.
Sabres. Let's see. I'm just
Colorado is bringing back Eric Johnson.
Ha! I was excited when we got him. Why isn't it just?
I was too.
Yeah,
I was very excited too with Eric Johnson, and then it just like everything went off the rails last year. I mean, it was just Tage Thompson got hurt.
I really think right now, just thinking about this league, I think it's. I don't see how anybody beats Florida in the Eastern Conference right now.
Oh,
I don't. Zetterlund to Ottawa. Ooh, that is an interesting trade, by the way. That is a very interesting move. I like Zetterlund. I'm a little surprised that San Jose traded him. Actually, I like that. I don't understand that one. Okay.
Yeah, that one's an interesting one. I mean, San Jose seems like that they are like just getting rid of everybody and bringing back new players.
Could be a hockey trade. Could be a hockey trade. Maybe they're going for a player on that team. You know, maybe since the Dylan Cousins move has come about, maybe that has opened up other possibilities. For that. So I have a meeting at 12:30, by the way, FYI my time. So I'm gonna have to hop off right at 12:30.
We're getting off of here anyways. Here we'll give it another like 5 minutes ish.
Yeah, depending if we see a deal here for hearing Shea Ohtani's on a plane to join the Leafs in Utah. What a great tweet! Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, a little shot at the Toronto at the Blue Jays.
Yeah, but in the meantime, definitely join us tomorrow for Hockey Hotline at 10 a.m. Join us tomorrow night for myself and Student Body Right and super producer Ty Brady. Do Ty tomorrow night on Third and Manageable. Also, join us. Join Jake on Sunday for the Buffalo Blueprint. Monday, No One to Blame. Wednesday will be Brian and Whittle. And Thursday will be Chase with Chase and Data. So definitely join us for all of the great shows and lineup we have across here. And definitely click that follow, subscribe button on both Twitter and on YouTube. As we sit here for another couple of minutes here, making sure nothing else has gone through. Brian's got to get back to work because he's in California. He's got that 3 hour delay on life. So, he's it's still 12:30 where you are. So,
Yep. We're always behind everything here. So, but we'll see. We'll hang out here for maybe just a few more minutes. I still think that there could be a deal here. So, I am not. By the way, I'm not sure about the Raquel to Carolina. That may have been false. By the way, just putting. You know how things are. This trade deadline, you see a lot of stuff.
You know what happens when you get something wrong, right?
What?
You got to sign off for an entire 24 hours.
Oh, the suspension. The Penguins are not trading Rickard Raquel, so not done. So Carolina is done for the day. So that is not happening. At least that trade. So
just waiting for a Sabres tweet or anything to say.
Well, I would expect. Will we have a Kevin Adams press conference?
Well, I'm more expecting a Bob McKenzie tweet to say Sabres are done, and then definitely Kevin Adams should be on at some point today to kind of explain everything that happened with the trade deadline. Tell us that he tried to get more done and couldn't because of palm trees and no movement clauses
and taxes and all the wonderful things, right? Yeah.
Every other excuse in the book that could possibly be said, but no, I mean I'm super excited for the Bills. With the rest of the off season. I mean, for them, for the Sabres, I mean, just to see what Josh Norris does over the last 21 games, that's going to be super exciting. But definitely watch us on Do Champions Twitter for all the Bills news coming out for them. Any Sabres additional news coming out, definitely watch it for that. And then definitely join us for the any draft stuff for both the NHL, NFL, everything else. So. I really, Brian, I want to thank you for hopping on with me for the past, couple hours, and it's starting at noon today. It was a long haul, but you gotta do it. Being Sabres creators and enjoy that meeting. But Brian,
good to be seen.
Good to be seen, guys.
Have a great day, everyone.